wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president. Oh! But I think she's not qualified to be president. Let's start there. Number one.
First question! Are you fucking kidding me? It's the first question!
To run for president, Vice President Trump.
Oh!
Fact is Vice President Trump. President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we gotta worry about it. Vice President Trump. Vice President Trump.
What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, fantastic afternoon, fantastic pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hasan Piker. This is the HasanAbi broadcast coming to you live from...
That's a Megaphonics W right there.
Sunny California, Los Angeles, folks. We're live and alive, and that was a Megaphonics W, actually, as a matter of fact. That was Megaphonics' very own Vice President Trump featuring HasanAbi and Old Joe. Absolute banger of an intro song. Just wanted to get the day started, set the mood right. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and Emmys are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. Today's a wonderful day. Today is a very special day. A very special day for a very special gays. That's right. For all the gays, girls, men, straight men, all the queers. Why? Is the question many people have on their minds. Hasan, why? Oh, why is this a special day? Is it because the RNC was last night? It's finally over. Is it because Donald Trump united the country because he's the great uniter and he did that? Is it because like the entire internet collapsed yesterday? Like computers were showing blue screens of death left and right, and flights were grounded across the board. Is that what it is? Is that the reason? And to all of you, I say yes and no. It's a very special day because it's a very special day of the week. Every week,
you know we finally
it's
here,
Friday.
Right? Well, it's Friday.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday. Every week. Every week we celebrate the joyous occasion that the turn of the week is here. The end of the week is here. The wage cucks can have a sense of autonomy, a sense of humanity, a sense of dignity in their lives that our forefathers fought long and hard for. Labor unions, trade unionists, socialists, communists. They fought hard so you can appreciate the goddamn weekend, crack a cold one with the boys, chug it, have some fun, forget that you're a wage slave for like 3.5 seconds. And that's right, we celebrate Fridays up in this bitch. Unless you're a service sector employee, in which case you fucking are just starting your day and your Fridays are basically everyone else's Monday. But you know, most of your viewers work weekends, lol. I mean, I know, and I work weekends myself, so work a mega lol. Nah, there's plenty of people, I think, in this community that like to tune in while they're working on the job, on the job. Oh, my Lord. In any case, this is the part of the broadcast where I tell you a little bit about my personal news about what's going on in the world of HasanAbi Piker. And honestly, a lot has happened. I ended the broadcast after 11 hours yesterday because, another 11-hour, almost 12-hour half day. You already know. You already know how this shit works. I'm quiet quitting. I'm not putting in the effort. I'm not putting in the initiative. What the hell is this guy doing? Where does he get off, this guy? Doing a half day? Just kidding. 12 hours is basically just half of the full day. Like, When I say I do half day, I mean I'm literally like burning half of the day in front of this goddamn computer. Luckily for me and everyone else that actually is a HasanAbi broadcast enjoyer, I never update my Windows until Windows basically comes to my house with agents that have weapons in hand that go, if you don't fucking update your Windows, we will kill you. That's usually when I update my Windows. Okay? They come in, they beat my ass, they use hammers, and they fuck me up. Or sometimes my computer, due to a power outage or whatever, will automatically fucking turn off and then turn on. And then when before I realize that I have Windows 11 update, on this fucking dumbass piece of shit that I never wanted. But anyway, Microsoft, I'm macro hard. Bro, your Windows doesn't have the antivirus that fucked up. Even if you updated, you'd be fine. Okay, I'm going to hear from a lot of unbearable IT nerds today. Okay? This is going to be your day. I know. Hold on. We're going to get there. Let me crack off a couple jokes before you start talking about how you guys are the first line of defense, how you're braver than the Marine Corps. I know. This is obviously Twitch. This is a very IT-focused space in general. Every IT specialist that fucking has a job where they have to tell 40-year-old men to just turn their computers on and off whenever there's a goddamn problem, and that's like the maximum amount of troubleshooting you have to do, is going to be talking in here like they're, comp sci engineers that actually are solving complex math equations today. Okay? CrowdStrike. I know. Okay, we know. You're going to be striking. CrowdStroke, more like it. Anyway, most of IT Nerd is your chat, including me. No, I know. Oh, I know. Trust me. Are you kidding me? You think I don't know? Most of my community has either had some experience in IT or is currently working in IT. Anytime there's an issue on my computer, everyone is literally an IT specialist. People are like, come on, give me remote access to your desktop, please. Let me fix it. Anyway, but that's besides the point. We'll get there in a little bit. We'll talk about that. What is this? What is all this? Oh, the freaking thing came out. I am a raffle, by the way. I'm not gonna be auctioning anything. I'm just raffled. Yeah, Connor relegated me to raffle status between 3:45 and 5:30 on the auction schedule. Anyway, folks, we got a lot going on in the world, but this is a part of the broadcast where I tell you about my personal news about what's going on in the world of HasanAbi Piker in between the time period where I press the stop streaming button and press the start streaming button. And of course, a lot has happened. One thing I want to immediately talk about is this. Okay? Ended the broadcast last night after a half tape because I'm quiet quitting. And what did I do? Not really much. I just fucking ordered some food because I was starving. The food got canceled. Halal guys, Koreatown canceled my ass. Okay? Which was probably a good thing because I was so tired, even though I was starving, that I didn't end up ordering more food. I just slammed the protein shake and that's it. I slammed the protein shake and I passed the fuck out. I was so tired I couldn't even jork it. Do you understand? I was so goddamn tired that I could not even jork it. That's how devastating the situation is. Just put the fries in the bag. I don't know what this means. I see it on TikTok all the time. Okay? But like, I don't know what that means. I think it's like a TikTok comment to be like shut the fuck up and, do your job, brokey or something. Is that what it is? Is that what it's like a reference to? Just put the fries in the bag like they're saying like you're a minimum wagey. Is that what that means? I find that rather strange. Sir, this is a Wendy's but Gen X. Okay. Wait, is it Gen X or Gen Z? Nah, it's a you fell off meme of you read the last chapter of My Hero Academia. What? They're saying you're washed and broke. Oh yeah, no, I know. I am famously, I'm very washed and very broke. But also simultaneously, I'm the richest, most powerful man in America and therefore bad at socialism or something. I don't fucking know. But yeah, it means you fell off and you need to get a job at fast food. Doesn't make sense in this case at all. Okay. People say it to people who are washed or doing cringe activities. Got it. Okay, makes sense. Anyway, so I'm such a goddamn boomer that I don't even understand. I needed like 8 minutes of people explaining, 8 minutes of people explaining what that meme even means to me. That is how outside of my orbit, my periphery, this commentary is. So, we're going to be talking about a lot, but yeah, no, anyway, I passed out. I woke up. I passed out. I woke up and I woke Alex up. Well, Alex was actually awake before me even. And we went to work out. It was squat day, okay? Asses on lock. Alex squatted for the first time in his life with a barbell. It was the first time he ever did a barbell squat, which we're very proud of, okay? I also went pretty high on my back squat, my barbell back squat. I went like 308 or something, which is the first time I've done that weight. So in a while. First time I did that weight in a while. I will not be posting a video of it because I had a weight belt around me, and that shit basically took all of my remaining skin and fat and bunched it up so I look kind of ugly. So I will not be posting that. Apologies ahead of time. You know, if you were looking forward to that, it's not happening. But beyond that, what do we pay you for? I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you don't get to see that. But I'll post myself doing 265 at least, because I did not have a weight belt on there. Hit 265 for 10. Not a big deal. I'm on a severe deficit. One thing I wanted to talk about that with respect to the deficit, as a matter of fact, low bar or high bar? No, I'm doing high bar now. I'm a high bar back squatter finally. We're back to high bars. Anyway, one thing that I wanted to say, Alex has been on my regimen for the most part while he's been here. He's been eating more than me. I've been trying to get him to eat more. The VOD isn't working, King. Wanted to watch Mufasa? Wait, why? Anyway, what? You gonna apologize to AOC now that reports have come out that Biden is staying in the race? What? Why would I apologize to AOC? AOC's a politician. So anyway, listen. What I was saying is I've been on a deficit for quite some time. As you guys know, I've been trying to cut down. I've been trying to get down to 220 pounds. I'm at 230. I'm at the bottom of 230. I'm trying to cut into 220. I saw 227 yesterday on the scale, and it made me very excited. But of course, this morning I was 231. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because Alex is a pretty high metabolism, like higher than normal, right? Like a lot higher than normal. That's why he's super shredded. For me, no shot, you're 230 kilograms. No, 230. I broke some news for you in the start of the stream. You can collab with Trump now, sleepover stream. Yes, Slasher. I'm very excited at the prospect of having the former president and also the next president. And also, if you're a real one, if you're a real patriot, the current president. Anyway, my metabolism is dog shit, and a lot of people don't believe me, okay? My metabolism is dog shit, and a lot of people don't believe me. They're like, no, you're tubby. You must be eating a lot, like whatever. This entire past week, Alex has been on my training regimen, and also simultaneously, he's been eating even more than myself. I've been trying to give him more food than even I eat, than I consume, right? This motherfucker lost 10 pounds almost. He lost 8 pounds since he's been here with my cardio and with my training regimen. I have stayed the same weight, and I eat less than him, and I work out more than him. He skipped a couple of workouts in between. And when we go play basketball, he just like sits out a lot of the games when I still keep playing. So I'm working out more than he is, and also simultaneously eating less than he is. My weight does not fucking move. He lost 8 pounds. Okay. And even like, yeah, he went out drinking a couple nights ago. And I have 40 pounds on him. 40 pounds on him. So, and I have a lot more muscle mass than he does. So like my metabolism is supposed to be like much faster across the board. Like my resting metabolic rate is supposed to be higher than his. I have 40 pounds on him, and we are around the same age. Like he's only 1 year younger than me. So like, I'm telling you right now, it is wild how good his metabolism is and how bad my metabolism is wild. Some people do literally just burn more or less than others. It comes to the individual difference between people and resting metabolic rate. No, I know. Yeah, HasanAbi, I'm 6'3", 240, and I clear 3.5 to 4K calories to maintain your metabolism is ... not ideal. No, my cut is insane. Think about it this way. I'm 230 pounds, 6'4". I eat on my deficit days, like on my higher deficit days, I eat less than 2,000 calories while simultaneously staying above 220, sometimes 230 grams of protein. Okay? That's crazy. Like, my deficit is insane. Like, this is like competition. Like, bodybuilders that are getting ready for competition have this level of deficit with like this much tweaking of their macronutrients. Anyway, so new study suggests working out does not change how much you burn. Your body burns around the same level. It's mostly a matter of food regulation. Yeah, I know, but my food regulation is also incredibly low. That is the whole point of this conversation. I know that working out doesn't necessarily, you can't outwork your diet, but my diet is also unimaginably fucking, it's just my calories, my daily calories are super fucking low. How do you get 200 plus grams of protein in? I eat a shit ton, and I mean a shit ton of prote. I'm the prote goat, okay? I'm the prote throat goat, okay? I'm throat and prote. You look insanely lean. I mean, I am definitely very lean now, but it is crazy. I'm throat and prote. I'm so protein pilled. No, I'm creatine pilled. I fucking love creatine so much. It's the greatest invention of all time. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anyway. You're probably putting on a lot of muscle too. No, because I'm actually weaker. I'm literally freaking weaker than I'm, you know, I'm definitely losing muscle mass as well. It's impossible to fucking at my level keep maintaining like the same level of muscle mass while also losing fat. Should I start lifting, man? I just turned 30. Is this what you do when you hit 30? You should have been lifting. There's never a bad time to start though. This is why calories in versus calories is so frustrating, because it's true but very reductive to what it means for people's daily lives. Imagine if you had a different job, less time, you might be a lot more obese right now. Still, you've done brilliantly. Oh, 100%. Strength does not correlate to muscle mass on a deficit. Fair. And then I watch shit like this.
I just saw a comment where a guy was like, he basically
and then I see shit like this and it makes me sad, and I'm like, I need to do steroids.
said, if you ate 1,000 calories a day of just donuts, you will get fat. And I replied to the comment, I'm like, I disagree. It's not even... I
mean, he's wrong. That person is wrong. Sam Silik is right. You will not get fat if you eat only 1,000. You will die. You will die before you get fat. You will lose weight, okay? Unless you're like a baby, okay? Also, 1,000 calories of donuts is like 3 donuts. What do you mean? Imagine being like, yeah, my diet is 3 donuts. Sick. That's also crazy. Do you have nutritionist recommendations or cardio tips? Yeah. Obviously, the best possible cardio for fat burn or like weight loss in general is staying between 120 to 130 beats per minute. You shouldn't, more than that is going to be too much exertion. That'll make you even hungrier. That'll make you way more exerted. But it's good to also obviously do that for regular cardio reasons. Like, it's better to improve your cardio by pushing the limit and doing high intensity interval training. But that is besides the point. And as far as cardio goes, do what you like. Do what you like. Do what you enjoy. Do what you find to be fun. There's definitely an activity that you can enjoy doing. Some people like basketball. I love basketball. That's what I do for my cardio. I hate running. I love basketball. However, some people love running. They're freaks. Okay. I don't get it. Thank you, Themasius, for the playlist. Some people like rowing. Rowing is great. I like rowing as well. I mean, I still get bored doing it, but basketball is so much more dynamic for me. Some people like rock climbing. That's another good exercise as well. So overall, some people like soccer. Just like find something that you enjoy doing. Even walking is great if you like that sort of thing. Some people like tennis. Just find something you enjoy doing and then just keep doing it over and over again. But you definitely need to add. She ate your earplugs? Like, ate them. What is wrong with her? No, don't pet her while you should have fucking yelled at her and like, that's insane. Well, when she shits them out, time for it. Oh, it's just earwax probably. Yeah, that's probably what it is. My cat tries to eat my earplugs all the time. What are they? AirPods? Oh, the ones for sleeping. Oh, Oh, she ate your phone. Wait, where? How was it on your bed or something? She just went and was like, yum. She's so fucking fat, dude. It's crazy. It's crazy how fat this dog is. You guys don't understand. Like she's actually not physically fat, but spiritually, she is such a fucking fat ass. I'm not even kidding. Like physically, she's like 100 pounds, but like she's just all muscle and bone. But she looks fluffy because of her coat. But she is so spiritually a fucking fat ass, just like her dad. Like she just literally lays. Look at this bitch. She knows I'm talking about her. Why are you looking at me like that? You're so fat, dude. Why are you the fattest to ever do it? The fattest in the game right now. No, seriously. She will run around a little bit and then be like, I'm done. She'll run around and be like, okay, I've gotten my exercise in for the day. And we'll just lay the fuck down and we'll be like, I'm good. You make her lay there all day and then call her fat for laying there. Yeah. And I mean, obviously it's because of the summer, but she does that in the winter too. Another fat activity that she is always like, she's just like physically, she can't do certain things because she's just really heavy. That's what it is, honestly. She's just spiritually fat because she's so big. Fat shaming Kaya is upsetting. No, she deserves it. Also, it's not even fat shaming, it's fat loving. I love that she's fat. Yeah. And she acts like her daddy. That's what it is. She is very cat-coded, I will say that. Anyway, what are the monthly expenses for owning a dog that size? I don't fucking know. A lot. Dude, I have no idea. I have not done the accounting. Anyway, so let's get into it. Let's blast off, okay? Let's do a big blast off. And let's get the people coming in. There's a lot going on in the world, obviously. Where is it? Okay. Trump's FASH RNC speech does little to unify. ISITJOEVER? Brandon thinks not. AOC defends Joe Biden. AOC defends Biden. Decision. Tel Aviv struck with Houthi drone. ICJ blasts Israel. And more news. Get in now. Yeah, today I'm gonna be like, I'm actually literally doing a half day today, by the way, because I have the Virginia Connor Dog Veterans Affairs IDF charity, which is not the Israel Defense Force, but instead the not the Israel Defense Force, the Immune Deficiency Fund. Oh my God, dude, there's so much happening that like I forgot the crowd. Like there's so much happening in the world that I forget like that there are literally news, like really relevant news things that are occurring. And I forget to even mention them in the title, or just like I lose track of all the things that I need to talk about. Yeah, Y2K happened last night. We'll talk about that as well. It's hard to keep up. We need a stream agenda. I have a stream agenda. I'm saying that so much happens all the freaking time that like it's hard to keep up even with the agenda. Now that he's unbanned, do you think Trump will finish the Elder Ring DLC on stream before you? Yes. Hillary holding on for dear fucking life. Yeah, Hillary's holding on because she doesn't want Kamala Harris to be the first female president. That's literally, I'm glad that people are recognizing this. America's first Madam President Kamala Harris is absolutely drilling into her brain like it's the Kill Bill siren. Yeah. 100 P. Moon is going to finish it at SL1 before you. Yeah. Yeah, last night Y2K occurred, and I only found out about it because my mom, I woke up to a text message on the family group chat from my mom. I don't know if your moms are like this too, but like my mom is so ominous with her fucking vague posting. She's in Turkey right now, and she just dropped like the most like vague general statement at 1:37 a.m. Los Angeles time. She texted, hello, ... Are you aware of what's going on? ? It's 1:37 a.m. What's beautiful about this is that she didn't even say anything else. That's it. So I woke up to that text message thinking like something happened, like something devastating happened to the family. You know what I mean? And it's like, I was like, I sent a bunch of question marks. Is everything okay? And then she starts talking about the cyber attack. It's 6 a.m. And it's like, Mom, you can't do that. Like you can't just like drop a vague post like that and let my mind, as soon as I wake up at 6:30 a.m., that's the first thing I see. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Is she okay? Is my family okay? You know, is everything going to be all right? And it wasn't even a cyber attack, but it's just like my mom at the time thought it was. And I don't know why. I don't know why like moms do that when they like vague post. It's not even a sense of humor thing, chatters. She just has this ominous energy when she texts. I think it's because it's a generational thing. I think she just doesn't know. Like, I don't think she knows how to like send these sorts of text messages in a way that is not like vague. My mom did the call me when you get a chance text when I was at work the other day, and I was thinking like someone has died, but she just needed me to check on the family dog when they were out of town. Yeah, that it is wild. I don't know what it is. Like, it's like a very mom thing to do, and I don't know why. I don't think they recognize that they're like, when they send a text message like that, most people's reaction to that text message is like a death has occurred in the family. You know what I mean? Like something super serious has gone down. There's a whole trad on Twitter and Instagram of these vague texts that scare the hell out of kids. Like, anyway, they think of it as a phone call that they have to establish communications first. Leave them on red and they learn real quick to stop doing that shit. No, first of all, she sent that at 1:30 a.m. So obviously I left her on red because I was sleeping. My mom hits me with a, can you get a hold of your brother? And I usually think he's dead. Oh my God, my mom did that yesterday. It's like, we haven't been able to reach him. I'm like, yeah, he's probably working. Like, it's fine. Why are you like this? Why is everything so amped up? Like, you can't be sending these ominous ass text messages, Mom. Oh, man. All right. My dad loves to do the no warning call. So I freak out and he says, oh, I bought you some cream cheese or some shit. Anyway, my dad texted me, call me when you're out of class. And I spent the next hour thinking my mom was dead, but he just had an IT question. Okay. My favorite is call me. Okay. I thought it was just me being a stress head, Lamau. No, this is just like, I think it's just like a boomer thing. I don't know what it is. Biden, ... Anyway, let's get started. I blasted off already. Like I said, Trump's FASH RNC speech does little to unify. Is it Jover? Brandon thinks not. AOC defends Biden decision. Y2K happened last night. Tel Aviv struck with Houthi drone. ICJ blasts Israel and more news. Get in now. Legit Q, why is every political dude framing the media's coverage of Biden as the elites forcing him out like the voters don't want him no mo? Yeah. It's because it's a weird dynamic. It's a weird dynamic where like the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party is so used to just like voters voting unconditionally for whoever the fuck the Democratic Party wants. And Biden is basically taking advantage of that because like the Democratic Party's posture has always been, we get elected because the other side is much worse. So it's fear-based voting. And Biden and his team are making this calculation. It's more so Biden's team that's making this calculation that that fear is going to set in when it's too late to make this decision, when it's too late to change the course, to change the trajectory. And that is, of course, the DNC. Once we get to the convention, it's over. Biden is a candidate and everyone will fucking get together. Everyone will get together and you know, unify under the Biden ticket, and we'll start yelling at everybody that doesn't want to vote for Joe Biden and tell them that they want fascism. Okay, that's what the Biden Biden campaign is basically gearing up for. Okay, that's what they're going. That's why I've been saying for months now that Biden's team is not even trying to put him across the finish line on November 5th. They're trying to get him across the finish line for the DNC. After that, it doesn't matter. Even if he fucking dies, they're just going to roll his carcass over. They're going to roll his carcass over and say you have to vote for this carcass and nothing else. Like, you can't do anything. Now, there's a couple different motivations here, though. Like the Democratic Party's establishment, like all of these people that have like basically had control over the Democratic Party that care about Like Mitch McConnell has ideological interest in the continuation of the Republican Party. Nancy Pelosi, in a similar vein, has an ideological interest in the continuation of the Democratic Party, right? Sure, they fundraise off of Trump pretty well, but they don't want Donald Trump and also on top of that, like a red House and a red Senate, and then have nothing, and then have the Donald Trump administration basically do Project 2025 and rip apart the federal agencies and institute like severe mechanisms that are impossible to roll back, as the last Trump presidency kind of fucked a lot of stuff up. So that's the reason why they are genuinely, and I do believe this, terrified of the Biden reelection chances. They're looking at the polls. They're recognizing that a lot of people, they're looking at a lot of people that normally would have voted for the Democratic Party, refusing to vote for Biden. And they're very worried about that. They're very worried about the prospect of a Trump reelection. What's the media's place in this? Why aren't they also putting pressure on Biden? They are. They're basically covering it nonstop. There's leaks everywhere. It's a leaky faucet up in this bitch. Virtually every member of Congress and people in positions of power that are close to Biden have openly stated that he must drop out, with the exception of like 8 people. Okay. Yeah, nothing good. Just repatriated Native American remains from a museum. Orange man bad, except for how he fights for Native Americans tenfold. Wait, what? She is incarcerating blacks for smoking joints so they end up used for her prison workforces. Task force brought 90% of missing persons that are found not murdered and missing law. Wait, are you like a woke Trump supporter? Like you're like a Trump cares about indigenous rights style Trump supporter? Is that what you're saying? What is happening right now? Dude, I love MAGA, except for last night when I did not love MAGA. Last night I was losing my mind a little bit. I was tired, and I think there was a couple moments where I definitely did pop off a little bit too hard. But anyway, what is James Medlock saying? All straightforward from here. 1, Biden reveals his bad debate performance with a clever ploy to reveal who his true heir is. Biden makes AOC his VP and then resigns the presidency. AOC implements socialism and we have 100 years of glorious prosperity. Yes, that's what's going on. You were cranky, but I would be too. Yeah, no. Major donors told Biden, his team, and the DNC that they will not be donating anymore. I know. The reason why donors have a say in this process because that's all the Democratic Party and the Republican Party cares about. Okay. Voters did not fall out of a coconut tree. A majority agree that you exist in the context of all you wish and live before you came. Wait, what? Voters agree that we exist in the context of all in which we live. What the fuck kind of poll is this? Are they just doing meme polls now? What the fuck? I think Twitter is just like memeing Kamala Harris into existence, like President Mamala into existence, which is at this point fine. Like I'll take whatever exit ramp we can get. But before we get to the AOC stuff, let's dial it back for a second and let's watch some of the media coverage, because I wanted to see how the media would frame Donald Trump's statements, because he started off with like emotional calls and being like, I was shot. It was so emotional. I cried tears. I will never tell you the story ever again. And it's like, he did that and that's fine. You know, he's going to milk it. Obviously, he got fucking shot at. But then he turned around and basically did the rally, I think, that he was going to do before he got domed, right? Like he literally went for 2 hours nonstop. He broke his previous records in both 2016 and 2020 for longest speech at a convention, like longest presidential candidacy acceptance speech was formerly broken in 2016. Then that was broken again by Trump in 2020. And then he broke it again this time around. And he was unstoppable in terms of yapping. And the yap sesh got so out of control and so fucking boring that I feel as though even his like most ride or die MAGA fans were by the end of it like, we've heard this before. Come on, please. Lots of papers clearly printed today's front pages based on the prepared, not the delivered remarks. Yeah, it's obvious. In a departure, Trump calls for unity, healing in America. Trump emphasizes unity from the Dallas Morning News. Pioneer Press, Trump takes a unity tone. He did not. After attempt on life, can Trump unite the U.S. from the RNC? And it's so obvious. Trump, we must heal discord. Somber Trump pledges everything I have to give. And it's like so obvious that they just did not listen to the speech and turned around and wrote it, because this was not even remotely different from any of his like normal speeches. The only difference in this speech was that he did not call out Joe Biden by name, with the exception of like 2 or 3 different times. But over the course of the 2-hour speech that he delivered, he rarely talked about Joe Biden, which I think was strategic. And it wasn't because he wanted to do a call for unity. It was because he knows that Joe Biden might not be the candidate. So he switched the narrative. He switched the narrative from Joe Biden to this administration. He kept saying this administration. Why did he say this administration? Because he recognizes that there's a high likelihood that Joe Biden drops out and Kamala Harris replaces him on the ticket. Tonight has been a journey for us all. Oh, here, this is a pretty good summary of like how the speech started and where it went. It's a weird but pretty good speech. The past few weeks have gone about as badly as possible for Democrats, and they're likely underdogs against Trump, regardless of who they nominate. But the opportunity to reset the campaign with a non-Biden nominee is a twist of good fortune. Semi-retract this tweet. This speech is boring as fuck, but there are worse things politically speaking than being boring. Fully retract and rescind. Sometimes it seems like both parties are trying to throw this election. It's not sometimes. It's all the time. Everything that I have seen from both parties so far in this election cycle is a race to the bottom. They are trying to do what Felix likes to call the record-breaking election where only 50,000 people vote. It legitimately feels like both parties are locked in this like weird secret deal where they're like, how can we get like 99% of eligible voters to not vote in this upcoming election? Because Republicans regularly at the state level keep doing insane shit. Like they're like, hey, I know right now that we are called the Christo-fascist party, but I don't really care. I do want to do Christo-fascism. I think we should, I think we should force everyone to read the Bible for 3 of the courses in class until grade 8. And it's like, why did you do that? Where did this come from? Absolutely 0 people were demanding this. Why are you just popping off like this? Okay. We need to put a copy of the 10 Commandments in every fucking classroom. Shit like that. And it's like, no one asked for this. You're just kind of popping out of the gates with no reason right now. They'll be like, oh yeah, right now, this is a time when like everyone is dialed in on abortion and women's bodily autonomy and reproductive rights. Let's ban IVF, or let's make a serious on the record statement. Let's get together. Let's bring all the Baptists together and let's officially make a statement about like restricting IVF, which is polling at like 90%, like 98% approval. You know what I mean? Why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? That's the Republican side. On the Democratic side, we have a carcass. The Democratic platform is not unpopular. Democratic senators and Democratic congresspersons that are running on the same ballot underneath Joe Biden have been outperforming Joe Biden, sometimes by 10 points, which is insane. Now, that number is actually closing in. Why is it closing in? Because people are recognizing that Biden is a fucking carcass. And that has down ballot consequences as well. You don't have a lot of split ticket voters. That's not like a real thing. Joe Biden, every other day when he is not like going, when he in his more coherent moments, is talking about how much he loves Israel and talking about how much he wants to do Trump-style immigration policies, basically making sure that not a single Hispanic or a young voter, sometimes both, because the Hispanic vote is pretty young in some of these important states like Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico, is basically ensuring that no young Hispanic ever votes for him, okay? Which is weird. Don't understand why Biden is just like desperately trying to make it so that if you're under the age of 35, you just definitely won't vote for either candidate. So the instincts are very weird on both sides. Very strange election. This part was crazy. I legit thought it was photoshopped. Did Trump walk on stage at the RNC in front of a giant sign that said come? What? No. What do you mean mostly true? Anyway, we're going to talk about the ICJ ruling as well. Of course, chatters, calm down. It's in the fucking, it's in the docket. Okay, please. Obviously, it's a historic ruling from the ICJ. So it makes sense. Most young people are more anti-capitalist and they don't want them to mobilize. The sign did say come. It was anti-Kamala messaging. Okay. All right, guys. Let's get back to serious business for a second. But let's hear what the media had to say, because I feel like a lot of the reaction, I was fearful that a lot of the reaction to Trump's RNC speech was going to be the classic, like, he became president on this day. He was doing a great job. He was so united. And some of the local news, some of the local press reflects that false narrative, especially in the titles, as we just saw. However, I don't believe that live network television coverage is going to reflect that, because it was very obvious that Donald Trump was not trying to be the great uniter last night at all. The only time he brought up unity, as a matter of fact, was when he was talking about how in order to unite this country, you have to drop all of the cases against me, which seems a little self-serving, doesn't it? All right, let's take a look at what the media had to say, though.
All right, turning now to that big night at the RNC and former President Trump's first speech since Saturday's attempt on his life. Accepting his party's nomination, he spoke of unity while also repeating the attacks and false claims that have helped divide this country. Tony is in Milwaukee, where he has been leading our coverage. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, Nate. You laid it out pretty well there. His voice was softer, his ear was still bandaged, and he promised to be president for all of America. But after Donald Trump detailed in sober tones Saturday's attempted assassination and said the division and discord must be healed, Donald Trump returned to being Donald Trump. He returned to form. And by the time he finished, after midnight Eastern time, he'd called a former House Speaker crazy, re-upped false claims of cheating last election, and accused Joe Biden of destroying America. So for more on this, I'm joined by Ed O'Keefe, who was on the floor with me to the balloon-filled Ed.
Yeah.
Good morning to you.
Good to see you. Look, there was that talk of unity, but perhaps most strikingly, the president spent much of the address recounting his harrowing brush with death.
I'm not supposed to be here tonight.
It was pretty cool when he said that President Bukele, which is a right-wing darling, by the way, Nayib Bukele, a right-wing darling. He is like spoken at right-wing conventions, okay? A crypto weirdo who swapped out the official currency of El Salvador to like Bitcoin, who is very famously incredibly reactionary in terms of dealing with crime in his country. He like built this massive prison facility. We've watched it before. We've watched like YouTubers go there and glaze up this like concentration camp that has now a really harrowing record of human rights violations. Donald Trump claimed that Bukele was actually secretly sending all the MS-13 guys into the United States of America after training them to be more violent. Donald Trump also said hundreds of thousands of Americans are being murdered by migrants, which was crazy. It was nutty. Like the tone was a little bit different. He wasn't as fired up, which I think contributed to how boring the speech was. But having said that, the message was incredibly violent, incredibly reactionary. Okay?
Not supposed to be here.
The longest acceptance speech in convention history began with a dramatic recounting of the assassination attempt.
There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. If I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight.
Former President Donald Trump honored firefighter Corey Compertori, the father of two who died in the shooting protecting his wife and daughters.
He lost his life selflessly acting as a human shield to protect them from flying bullets. He went right over the top of them and was hit.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. When he kissed, Donald Trump was on point last night. I will say this much, okay? There were a couple moments where Donald Trump popped the fuck off, okay? When he kissed the firefighter helmet, that was incredible. I thought that was wild. But also when he blew a kissy poo at Hulk Hogan before his speech, I think that was the best part of the night. Here it is. Donald Trump blew Hulk Hogan a kiss after his RNC speech. I am not lying. That was incredible. What was he thinking? Like, what was going on there? It's just like, it literally jumped out of him. He is so bi-coded. He is zesty. He is queer. Okay. I'm sorry. This is a lock. He got so excited at this big hulking man glazing him up. Okay. This big entertaining hulking man glazing him up. And goddamn, Hulk Hogan's speech was entertaining, I will admit. Okay. That he literally, the emotions jumped out of him. And he just was like, what can I do in this moment? He wasn't even thinking at that moment. Like, he was just reacting. I enjoyed Hulk slipping up and calling him Donald, Dick, Gay, Trump. What? Yeah. Donald Trump also had some funny moments where he ignored Tiffany Trump. That was funny. Donald Trump literally on his own speech was basically like, it was shocking how good Eric Trump was. Am I right? And it was crazy because he was just like dunking on his own son. He literally just hates his children, except for Ivanka. Yeah, no kissy poos for her. All the kissy poos are reserved for Hulk Hogan. He loves Barron and he loves Ivanka. That's it. He hates Don Jr. He despises Eric Trump. He does not even care. He forgets that Tiffany is his like actual daughter. But yeah.
What a fine man he was.
At times, Trump tried to emphasize unity, saying division in the country must be healed.
I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America.
But if reelected, Trump said he would work to restore
Southern speed, but isn't a Trump vote just further improving most of the average chatters in here? I feel like with how the economy has been, it can only aid better with our economy along with what is to come. Yeah, no. Donald Trump's policies did not improve your life, with the exception of the stimmy checks that you got during COVID. But beyond that, Donald Trump's policies did not improve the American economy, and it certainly did not improve the economy for the actual working class Americans, which many of my community is comprised of. I don't think I have a lot of landlords and real estate moguls in here. So I highly doubt that unless you're like, you know, C-suite executive at fucking Raytheon or whatever, or not even just Raytheon, but like ExxonMobil, I doubt that you saw genuine improvements in your material conditions under the Trump administration. You're just experiencing amnesia. Okay? The moment I get my bag, I'm canceling my subscription and hating hard. Good luck to you, chatter. I hope you get your bag. And then I hope you double up on your bag by joining the fuck Hasan economy, which is robust. Not as big as it used to be, but robust regardless. But before you, obviously, when you get your bag, though, you better fucking come back in here and give some subs at the top of the hour to make sure that all of the other chatters who also want to hate can hate more efficiently. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Even if your favorite broadcaster turns into your least favorite broadcaster. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Trump, like any grifter prophet, was inheriting an improving economy and took credit for it. Yeah, that's the classic. That is also the classic Republican gambit. Democrats come in and they have to redirect the economy, at least under like capitalist market conditions, redirect the economy under capitalist market conditions into like a growing economy. And then obviously their 8 years are over. So then the Republican can come in and fuck it up again. And then the Democrats have to come back in and fix it. It doesn't usually happen with a one-term swap. It usually happens at the end of 8 years. I mean, if you recall, George W. Bush absolutely gutted everything and oversaw the collapse of the American economy. And then Barack Obama had to come in and pick up the pieces and then change the direction, only for Donald Trump to come in and, you know, take advantage of that and drive it further off of a cliff. That's such a cop-out. I don't think it's a cop-out. This was a unique moment. What you're describing is not the norm. George H.W. Bush raised taxes and Clinton took credit for the surpluses. What I'm describing is something pretty, I mean, it's a pretty common trend. The biggest scion is the Fuckasan pipeline is currently spiraling out of control and now claiming I run Twitch. Wait, really? Yeah, I run Twitch so hard that when Donald Trump got shot, Twitch literally didn't even have adequate bandwidth to cover my immediate increase in viewership. And I just like literally I was getting rate limited by the company that I run secretly, and they had to go back and like fix the problem. Anyway, is there somewhere you can prove that so I can show my father-in-law? Sure. All right, let's continue.
What in his view the Biden administration has undone.
With proper leadership, every disaster we are now enduring.
Yeah, I run Twitch. That's why I demanded that Donald Trump's account get reinstated.
Will be fixed, and it will be fixed very, very quickly.
Former First Lady Melania Trump made her first appearance of the week last night to watch her husband accept the nomination, as did Trump's oldest daughter, Ivanka Trump, and her husband, Jared Kushner. The evening at times resembled a pro wrestling tournament, less a traditional campaign rally.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States.
This was fire.
Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother.
Delegates like...
That was sick. That was actually sick. I'm sorry. I mean, it's very stupid and everyone will be like, oh, it's idiocracy. But honestly, that was fire. Like, yeah, call me a fucking stupid idiot the way I thought that was awesome, okay? I don't know what the fuck's wrong with this country. Many things are wrong with this country. But I will say that was not one of the things that was wrong with this country. It was awesome.
Brooke McGowan from North Carolina believed Trump's speech kept a momentous week for Republicans.
He took a bullet for us on Saturday, and we could have had a much different outcome this week. This could have been a week of mourning and scrambling to try to figure out who would be our nominee, because no one can hold a candle to Donald J. Trump.
In response to the speech, the Biden campaign noted former President Trump never made any mention of issues like access to abortion services or his support for January 6 rioters, and they said the choice for voters now has never been more clear. Tomorrow, Trump heads for his first campaign rally with his running mate J.D. Vance. They're off to the battleground state of Michigan, Tony.
Yeah. And for the record, longest convention speech ever.
Can't repeat that enough. It was a long night.
It wasn't. Get some sleep, Ed. Thank you very much.
The balloon drop has commenced. Donald Trump giving his acceptance speech, accepting for the third time presidential nomination of the Republican Party, joined on stage by his wife, Melania Trump, who does not.
Son, why did Trump recount his assassination attempt with the most boring picture slideshow? Bro, what is he supposed to do? Recreate it? Actually, I wouldn't put it past him to do that. Do exactly that. I could see him do that. Just like recreate it step by step and just like break out into song and dance.
Ever appear with him anymore. So this is the first time that she's been seen by his side. I don't know exactly in how long, but in a very long time, having sort of an awkward greeting with her on the stage that I think was a little performative. He appeared to be...
Trump literally kissed everything but his wife last night. You're wrong. He did kiss his wife. He kissed his wife on stage after his speech was over. I watched it. Don't ever come for my president like that, okay? My real president.
Sort of feigning surprise to see her, but that was... and then the rest of the family and his running mate, J.D. Vance, and his wife.
Do you believe Trump can end all wars? Yeah, definitely. Yes, I'm delusional. I was comatose for the 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency. So, of course, I think Trump can end all wars.
Joining them on stage. This is...
Which, by the way, under his reign, he ended 0. But, you know, under his reign, under his rule, America did not end any of their wars, even though he claimed he would. He will say he's not engaging. Like, he says that he ended all wars under his presidency. And I think people are too stupid and think that that is the truth. But, you know.
Not just the longest convention speech in the modern era. It is the longest convention speech in the modern era by a very long way. The previous record holder was Donald Trump. in 2016 when he gave what was then the longest convention speech that had ever been given in the modern era.
Biden ended more wars but had a worse net war change. Yes, that is also technically not untrue. That is true. That is technically true. Biden did end one of the wars, Afghanistan, which was technically Trump's Afghan withdrawal policy, which Biden followed through on to a T. And I will always give him credit for that. I will always give him credit for that. The media, however, was very mad that he did that. And that, I think, was the turning point in his administration. That's when the media had the fucking knives out for him. They went nutty mode over it. And then, of course, the Afghan withdrawal was nothing because, Russia invaded Ukraine. And then after Russia invaded Ukraine, then we had, an energy crisis, a simultaneous energy crisis that was made worse by the fact that greedflation was going nutty mode, where all of these corporations were taking advantage of like the increased prices, where demand went up, people started shopping again, whereas supply could not keep up as a consequence of the logistical issues that occurred during COVID. And then they realized, like, oh shit, we could just keep the prices this fucking high. And then the energy crisis post-Ukraine invasion, people experienced a lot of negative real wage growth for a year and a half under the Biden administration, something that they will not forget, obviously. And then on top of that, October 7 at the last minute, in the last year of Brandon's administration, October 7 happened, and Israel has been doing a genocide ever since, which Brandon has been obviously defending.
We passed that by, I think, about 20 minutes. We knew this was going to be a long speech when we got first the excerpts and then the full text of it scripted at probably about an hour. But this came in over an hour.
That Jacob Soboroff playing with the fucking balloons
experience. Former president did get to most of the words on the teleprompter, but added a whole lot more.
Yeah, there was a lot of extra cereal in the box, if you will.
Yes. Nicole Wallace, what did you think?
Well, so interestingly, it was pointed out to me that Fox News had stopped carrying his speeches about a month ago. And I thought that was curious. And it was when there was a lot in them about electrocution.
Yeah, if one of those balloons popped while Trump was giving his fucking speech, yes, that would have dramatically altered the trajectory of this election, okay? You don't understand. One balloon pop and it's fucking game over, okay? We would have seen a very different Trump after that.
And sharks. I think when you watch what is arguably his biggest opportunity to speak before the most Americans, you see a little bit of where some of that thinking might be, right? This was very extemporaneous. It was, I think, about half and half, right? Half of it was the scripted speech, and there was about 50% extra added. In the room, it was messianic. People were crying, and they definitely loved it. Trump, who...
At the beginning, they loved it and were crying.
Okay, bro, glaze like this should be illegal, dude. I mean, I guess technically they're not wrong. Like, the room felt an air of... There was a messianic energy in the fucking room. Like, yeah, they do think he's the Messiah. But, like, I don't know, maybe put a little bit of fucking energy on here and talk about how that's kind of weird. I think they should say that.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot. The New York Times actually reported, and we're trying to chase this down, but that...
I love how a bunch of former leaders around the world have come out with heavy support of Trump. I'm more convinced than ever that Trump has the strength and bravery to save Ukraine and end this appalling war. Yeah, okay, Boris. Okay, Boris, go to bed.
Actually, by the end, the upper level seats, people were emptying.
Well, and the Times had a great sort of bottom line on this. In the beginning, he said he'd changed. By the end, it was pretty clear he hadn't, or hadn't very much. I think if you're wondering what impact this has on a viewing audience, you have to wonder how much of it the viewing audience stayed through. It was longer than current modern baseball games with the new pitching clock. I don't even know that all baseball games last that long. It was very lengthy. It was very meandering. I hope that the bigger message anyone in the pro-democracy side got tonight is that the pro-democracy candidate, the Democratic person, can beat him, and by a lot and decisively, rendering the story that you covered with Jim Rutenberg meaningless, if that should happen. The other thing is, if you're looking in here for kernels of substance, describing what happened to him on Saturday night, saying this is the one and only time he'll do that, we'll see, right? It seemed like a story that once he got into it, he enjoyed connecting over and sharing. I think
slow down on that point just for a second, just to make sure that people understand when Trump, in case you didn't watch the whole.
I remember, didn't you say England is memed as the Americans of Europe? That's what my Thai friends say. Yeah, England is the America of Europe. Yes.
Speech.
Oh yes.
At the beginning of his speech, Trump.
Are you streaming tomorrow?
Very
yes. Why wouldn't I be?
With
a reenactment.
A reticent, very soft-spoken kind of sing-song, but very tightly scripted, reading the teleprompter, recreation, description, moment by moment of the shooting at his rally last Saturday. People in the crowd were weeping, and he did very dramatically say, "You will hear this from me once and then never again because it is too painful to speak about." It was a very strange opening to the speech. It was very moving to the people in the room.
And we'll see if that's the only time he ever tells the story, if it is, you know, a little bit of political history that we all witnessed, I guess, together. There's a lot of audacity. There are also a few tells. I mean, I think you saw the impact of the immunity decision in some of the speech, bragging about calling people who come to the country illegally an invasion so that he could use the military was a line in the speech. I thought he also showed his hand a little bit on how he would pursue or identify enemies, saying, they say I'm a threat to democracy. Well, I'm protecting democracy. So I saw a few sort of flashing yellow lights in this. I think the larger political thing for everyone to understand is that this is not a focused candidate. This is not a disciplined candidate. This is not a candidate with a simple message of what he wants to do. And when he stands alone, he certainly appears to be someone who should easily be contrasted to.
Chris Hayes?
The first part of the speech, I was struck by the fact that this was a 78-year-old man who had just gone through a profoundly traumatic experience and was forced to reckon with his own mortality and how scary that was to him, and that he is an old man in the latter stages of his life, most likely. He's 78 years old. The time comes for all of us. And that part of it was a part of Trump you don't see because I don't think he enjoys thinking about that at all. I also felt like the biggest takeaway after what has been 3 of the most painful weeks that I've ever seen in Democratic politics, this is not a colossus. This is not the big bad wolf. This is not a vigorous and incredibly deft political communicator. This is an old man in decline who's been doing the same shtick for a very good long time, and it's really wearing pretty thin. And he is a beatable candidate. This was not, and Democrats have been feeling a lot of panic and fear and anxiety, and understandably so. But I don't think anyone watched that speech.
I mean, yeah, I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying. He's basically saying this is the old Trump. This is the classic Trump. He didn't actually make like a genuine pivot for unity, or what remains of like the goodwill that he could have cultivated here. He kind of cast aside, and it's not wrong. He's not wrong. Donald Trump, the old Trump, the Trump that we know, is the Trump that everybody fucking hates. Okay, he just did. He basically had like a brief moment in the beginning where he was like, "Oh yeah, it was really sad. I got shot at, and it was terrifying." And then immediately went to the hits. He basically did the same fucking rally speech he was going to do. The only thing that was different is that he did not actually call out Biden by name, call him Sleepy Joe, whatever. And the only reason why he didn't do that, it was because it was strategic. That's it. He strategically did not take a lot of shots at Joe Biden. He did at the Democrats. He did at Nancy Pelosi. He is still very much beatable. Okay? He is still very much beatable. Of course he is. He was the president. He is already maxed out on name recognition, just like Biden is maxed out on name recognition. He's the incumbent, right? So people are already like, they've made their opinions on Trump. Okay? They've made up their minds on Trump. That's why, like, even post-assassination attempt. Like, you didn't see a dramatic shift in the polls. Coping hard. This isn't coping. I still think that the current Democratic Party, with Biden leading the ticket, has a very hard, has a very bad chance of defeating Donald Trump. Okay? I do. This race should not be close at all. This race should not be close at all. And yet it is, and it's currently favoring Donald Trump. This is the first time Donald Trump has actually been leading in the polls. In 2020, he never led in the polls. He lost. In 2016, he never led in the polls, and he won. This is the first time where he has consistently led in the polls. Okay? Despite Biden's glaringly obvious flaws. Okay? What is happening? What is this? Kaya Place. What the hell? She just came over here and just sat down next to me like I called her over here or something.
Of this group, 11 of the 13.
Oh, we'll do the undecided voter focus group. I love dumb shit like this. Anyway, just curious, what does your Twitter For You page look like? Is it just filled with right-wing nuts as well? Yes. That's literally the reason why I don't use Twitter as much anymore. Yeah, Biden's approval rating is underwater, historic lows for an incumbent. No incumbent has ever won when they are this far, they are this unpopular. Okay, it doesn't work like that. That's a major issue. Okay, that's a major issue that the Biden camp, or at least like what remains of the Biden camp, refuses to recognize. Having said all of that, however, and I reiterate this position quite frequently in my endless, ceaseless coverage of Joe Biden's Joe Biden's deteriorating brain, one thing that I consistently point to is how unpopular Trump is as well. There is, however, a major difference between Joe Biden and Trump. This is, yet again, just like 2020, a Trump election. Okay? In 2020, people voted against Trump. They did not vote for Biden. They voted against Trump. They voted for Biden because they were led to believe that Joe Biden is the best person to beat Trump. Okay? Now, that argument has gone away. There is no Joe Biden is the best person to beat Trump argument you can make any longer. So there is no reason for Joe Biden to stay in the race. And that is precisely the reason why so many people are looking at what is going on and saying maybe Joe Biden should drop out and be subbed with a candidate that is at least competent, semi-competent. Okay? But that doesn't change. That does not change the reality that Donald Trump is still a deeply polarizing and deeply unpopular figure. He is phenomenally popular in his base. He is phenomenally unpopular outside of his immediate base. Okay? Joe Biden doesn't really have a base. His base is just diehard Democrats for the most part. Let's continue.
Wow. That's an incredible, like, that's going to be hard to top. That's going to be hard to beat. How are we going to message against this guy?
Yo, can you open the door for delivery? I got groceries.
For folks who haven't watched the rally, that was just a Trump rally with some speech sort of woven through.
Thanks.
I just think you got to look at that and think, like, it's really important if you're on the pro-democracy part of the country to stop him from getting back into office, but that should be a doable thing.
So the concept of conventions in the television age has been prime time. There are 3 hours of prime time in television, 8, 9, and 10. And the job of the final night of the convention was to make sure that the presidential nominee was on between 10 and 11. The final hour of prime time, because that actually reaches across the country more strongly than any of the other hours of prime time, given the way our time zones fit. He got on at 10:30, which means 30 minutes of his speech was in prime time, and then he went on for another hour after that. And so that is a complete failure of convention scheduling that people have been working with, you know, since the 1960s, that you're supposed to try to, not try to observe, you must observe. And Donald Trump, watching that guy The adjective Donald Trump has for guys like that is low energy. He's the one who invented that to describe Jeb Bush. That was a very low energy Donald Trump. That was not, you have to be a Donald Trump worshiper to hang in for the whole 90 minutes to listen to all of it. This is the speech in which you're trying to get people who you don't
I think he went longer than 90. Didn't he go for like 2 hours?
Already have. I don't see how this speech could have done that.
Joy?
To paraphrase Eric Killmonger.
I mean, you watched the whole thing. I did. It was 93 minutes. It's 92 minutes. It felt like a lifetime. I'm not joking. It was 1 hour and 32 minutes, and it felt like it was 8 hours. It was so long, so boring, so convoluted, and so filled to the brim with all of his classic tropes, all of the classic like reactionary politics, like with this time with like lower energy than usual too. I was driving while listening. HasanAbi took the distance. He was done. I had driven 567 miles. What are you, on a plane?
MAGA, is this your king? If Joe Biden had given a rambling, shambling, all over the place speech like that, elected Democrats.
All right, okay, I don't care about the MSNBC takes as much. As far as the high notes goes, I mean, as far as the high notes goes, Trump obviously did the classic, like, immigrants are killing every single person you've ever seen and new people that haven't even been born yet. He said hundreds of thousands of Americans are being murdered by immigrants. He claimed that, like, Venezuela and El Salvador are actually dumping all of their, like, criminally insane into the United States of America in a deliberate attempt to invade the United States of America, which is a wild thing to say because all the people that are coming in from Venezuela actually under Trump's administration and under Joe Biden's administration have gotten temporary protected status because they are ideologically opposed to the Venezuelan government. So they're like anti-communist, right? They're supposed to be anti-communist, anti-Maduro. It's like they are literally some of the more right-wing Venezuelans, as a matter of fact. They're pro-Trump. They literally are, they are anti-Maduro. Like, you are welcoming them into the country in the same way that you're doing. You're welcoming them into the country in the same way that you did with Cubans, right? So that's rather shocking to me. Okay. Immigrants are taking 107% of created American jobs. Immigrants are both taking all the jobs, but they're also taking all the jobs of the murderers. Okay. They're taking all the jobs of the murderers. Like, immigrants aren't just taking the regular jobs, right? They're not just becoming like CEOs of companies. They're not just becoming like, they're not just taking over like the coal mines and stuff, but they're also simultaneously lazy, eating all the welfare, eating all the social safety nets that they can't even take advantage of, by the way. But they're also out competing our criminals. They've taken over all the murder. The murder rate does not reflect the reality that hundreds of thousands of Americans are being murdered all the fucking time nonstop, especially let alone by undocumented migrants. But, you know, Trump has like 1 or 2 cases that he can always point to and be like, yeah, that's right. Anyway, that is literally what conservatives think, by the way, because they don't think. They don't think at all. They just go, that's what they do. Anyway, what do you mean they can't get social services? Undocumented migrants cannot take advantage of welfare in this country. The only thing that the Republicans lie about in the least decent way possible is that they will turn around and claim that the children of undocumented migrants that were born on U.S. soil that are literally actual American citizens, okay, no matter how hard Republicans try to claim that they're not, it doesn't change the reality that they absolutely are American citizens. Their cost is tacked on to the overall billions of dollars that undocumented migrants are actually taking from the social safety nets. They say the children born into a family with at least one parent that is undocumented is still technically taking advantage of, it's still tacked on to the undocumented migrant number. There are no benefits that they can take. They actually put into the Social Security. They actually contribute to sales taxes, obviously. Are you leaving? Oh, okay. All right. Damn, you're going early as hell. But that's like hella early. That's crazy early. All right.
Hello.
Is your flight fine? Have you figured it out?
I mean, apparently.
Okay.
I don't know. I just hope I hope the plane doesn't like blue screen midair.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. Marat said it's a Boeing plane, so you're fine. Following the speech, David Axelrod said on CNN that it was the first good thing that's happened to Democrats in the last 3 weeks. Yeah. Why is Alexis not coming to the auction? Does he hate charity? Yes, he does. That's why Alexis is not coming to the auction. He hates charity.
And we already told you he died in the fire video.
Yeah, we lit him on fire and killed him. He immolated too hard. All right, let's continue. This is Undecided Voters grading Trump's performance at RNC.
This group, 11 of the 13, still haven't decided who they're going to vote for president in November. 2 of them have decided. This gentleman right here, Kevin, for Donald Trump, he knows that already. This woman here, Paula, for Joe Biden, or the Democrat who might eventually take his place, she knows that already. Right. But what I want to ask you all first at this point, all 13 of you, what you thought of this speech, not a yes or no answer, if you thought it was good or not good. I want you to give a letter grade to it like you're in school. So I'm going to start here with you. What letter grade do you give that speech?
B.
C.
B.
C.
D.
D.
A. C.
B.
B.
C.
A.
B.
So B and C seem to be the most prevalent grades. I'm going to start with you, Kevin and
That's
Dawn,
crazy.
married couple right here. You are
Talking
both
to them
still
like children.
undecided about
Well,
who
that's
you
a
will vote
focus
for.
group.
Yeah.
And they are children. They're fucking undecided voters. Like, how are you undecided? You have to have, like, brain damage to be undecided at this point. You either have decided you're not voting for anybody, or you have decided that you're voting for one party over the other. Like, who the fuck's like, I don't know. I don't know about the former president of the United States of America versus the current president of the United States of America. It's like, this is a rerun episode, dude. You've already made your decision one time.
Also, what I don't understand is, like, Biden is old, yes, but he was old before. Like, nothing has really changed.
Well, I mean, he got older. And,
but he was still demented before. Like, it's weird
I
that
know,
people
but
are
I
like,
think-
oh, massive difference. He was always demented.
I think that the difference is the media is now covering it with a little bit of truth. So, like, people have actually started recognizing it. People that, like, only watch news media never really got to see how bad things actually were until it was, like, impossible to avoid. Like, they were able to maintain a narrative. They were able to maintain this narrative that, like, Biden is fine. You know what I mean? And not, like, not just, like, losing his brain power.
Yeah.
Until that debate.
Tell me what the most important thing you thought about.
Classic, bro. Classic.
I was listening
this
to
guy.
his tone of voice, to his way of speaking and encouraging us and bringing unity to the country and those individuals that might be outside of the Republican Party.
And what grade did you give it again?
B.
Dawn, what grade did you give it again?
I gave it a C.
And what did you think of the speech?
I thought the beginning was really good. I was looking for unity, speaking outside of the Republican Party. And I thought I heard we a lot and not so much about himself.
Kevin, you're supporting Donald Trump. You've already said that. You gave the grade of
a B.
And what did you think of the speech?
I thought it was too long. I think.
Dude, I love these focus groups because they demonstrate that, like, American voters are just absolutely insane. Okay, I always say the median U.S. voter is a sea of contradictions. And these guys basically demonstrate that once again. Another thing that I always reiterate is that American voters vote based on vibes and not, like, actual policy. And so when Donald Trump is tonally a little bit more held back, right? That's all it takes for these guys to be like, well, he was seemingly very presidential. Okay? And it's like, no, he wasn't. He was still Hitlerian in his politics. But just because he wasn't, like, yelling and being like, Biden is old, I will kill every migrant. Migrants are poisoning the blood of the nation. Like, because he didn't say that. Because he was like, migrants are responsible for this great nation and its death rate skyrocketing, even though murder rates are down historically. You know, even, like, just as long as the tone is there, they're like, oh, I guess it's fine.
I think it started off slow, but as it progressed, I believe it got a lot better.
Lena, you gave what grade?
A C.
A C. And Lena and Rich are also married right here.
Yes.
Why'd you give it a C?
Because his rhetoric hasn't changed about the election, 2020 election, and I'm really concerned that we're going to have another issue depending on who wins. So, you know, I'm just really praying that if Trump wins, the guardrails of democracy will hold.
Rich, what grade did you give it?
So I gave his speech a D.
Tell me why.
It started out great, but then he went into mistruths and grievances and attacks, and it just totally contradicted itself in terms of what he wanted to achieve with unity.
Paula, the grade you gave it?
D.
And you're supporting Biden?
Yes.
Or whoever takes his place if that happens.
Yes.
What did you think about it?
I think, I do believe he started off with a pretty good tone for him. I thought it was good, but then he lapsed back into the Donald Trump of old.
Okay, up there in the corner, Robin and Kirsten, mother and daughter, the grade you gave it?
I gave it an A.
And why'd you give it an A?
The thing I was looking for was a change, and I felt I heard that change in his voice. I was looking for...
I mean, that haircut says it all for me, okay? That haircut says it all for me. Ladies with that haircut have a 75% chance of having the most Hitlerian politics, okay? Like, that's a lady who is going to start talking about securing the nation for our white children. You know what I mean? This one, yeah. Straight Hitlerian politics, dude. Straight. That's basically the Klansman robe.
for his discussion on getting unity together in the country, as well as the border control and inflation.
Kirsten, what grade did you give it?
C.
And why?
It started off strong, just like some other people have said, but the same old thing. It went from him.
Doesn't Hill Dog have that haircut? Yeah, point proven instantly. Okay, what do you mean?
Probably just reading the teleprompter and actually reciting the speech into his whole song and dance of just putting his own spin on things, and that's where I feel like a lot of his points get lost.
Gary and Nancy, you're a married couple too.
Yes.
You gave it what grade, Gary?
I gave it a B.
Calling women Karen is sexist and racist? Yeah, because I am. Okay, what the fuck do you mean? Yes. Calling women Karen is both sexist and anti-white racism, and I'm both of those things. Suck my dick.
Good first name, by the way, Gary.
Get over it.
Why B?
He went into some negativity. I was expecting much more negativity, but he did go a little bit of negativity and also some exaggerated statistics and exaggerated goals of getting us to #1 in the world as far as schools go and stuff. Those are just unrealistic.
Okay, Nancy, what grade did you give it?
I gave it a B. I thought it
Just
was
cut that guy
not
off.
negative on women, which I was so.
The truth comes out, eh? I love people just like thinking that this is like this is a narrative that will stick. For the past 3 years, people have desperately tried to make this a thing, to be like, dude, he says cracker, he's an anti-white racist. Like, it hasn't stuck, okay? That's not a real thing. I'm fucking white. I'm joking, Law? Oh, okay, I thought you were being serious, sorry. There are people who, like, unironically try to do that thing. They're all on Reddit. It just doesn't work. But, you know, let's
sort of
continue.
expecting. I thought his tone was pleasant and something that
I thought when he said there's an undocumented migrant in every corner waiting to do rapes, I thought that was very pleasant. The tone that he took, the tone that he took when he said that, when he said personally that El Salvador is releasing every criminal trapped in an insane asylum and dumping them into Wisconsin. I thought to myself, that's right. That's happening right now.
as a leader, that maybe I would be proud to have him as a leader with his more relaxed tone.
Susan, what grade did you give it?
A C.
And why did you say C?
Well, I was led to believe that there would be a change in his approach to people, and I don't feel that he met those expectations like others. I thought he started out strong and then went downhill.
Ray and Barb, you're a married couple too. Ray, you gave it what grade?
I gave it an A.
And why'd you give it an
A? Because it's Donald Trump.
Because I'm an old racist.
He doesn't
because
care.
because I'm old and I'm racist, and so is Donald Trump, and I love that.
He was who he always has been. And even though...
Why are these guys, not a single person I have seen in this focus group is undecided?
No.
Like, it sounds like every single one of them have decided. Long before this speech ever occurred, by the way. What a phenomenal group of undecided voters. By the way, this is Waukesha, which is like, you know, there's a reason why there's only one black guy there, okay? And I doubt that even he is from Waukesha. All right? They had to maybe extend the zip code a little bit to make sure that to make sure that there was some people who were just not, oh, there's a black lady there too. I gave him an A because he's Donald Trump. I'm undecided.
But no young voters either. Everyone is age 50 plus.
Yeah, they reached out to young voters and they were like, sorry, I'm
off.
Sorry. Ask me about my opinion on phantom tax and I will give it to you, but not this.
With the incident that happened Saturday, he still came out as himself.
Barb, what grade did you give it?
I gave it a B.
And why did you give it a B?
I gave it a B because, like so many people said, he started out good, strong, grateful, thankful, and then into bragging.
Have any of you changed your mind? 11 of you were undecided. Any of those 11 made a decision based on this speech, or is it still the same?
I think I'm more decided.
And what have you decided?
I've decided that I will support Trump.
Anyone else make a decision yet?
I have.
Like the guy gave him an A and said it's because it's Donald Trump. Like, what do you mean? You're not going to raise your hand? Like, what do we, do you think we are fucking stupid, sir?
Maybe he's just holding out, like if Hulk Hogan suddenly like ran for the Democrats, then he'd be like, well, maybe now I'll change my mind.
Yeah, I think I possibly might vote for Hulk Hogan. I'm holding out hope.
I made a decision to support him.
So 2 of our 11, anyone else? The 2 of you?
Oh, there.
Trump.
Trump. So 4 of our 11. You going to watch Biden in 5 weeks?
Oh, yes.
Give us speech.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we've got an update on the investigation.
So, yeah, Secret Service was notified, but overall, I want to get back to some of this stuff in terms of like the RNC. Is there any more? Because AOC had some takes post RNC. AOC came out post RNC. Here was Ryan Grimm's take on it. I thought she was pretty clear. She said, here's why she feels the way she feels, but she doesn't blame people for disagreeing. She doesn't trust the people leading the charge to oust him, a legit point, and doesn't think they have a reasonable plan to replace him and win. If you believe, like me, that he has a near zero shot at this point, then you have nothing to lose in replacing him. She clearly thinks he can still potentially win. That's it. And I think that the other political calculation, which I think AOC probably should not have gone live and done this, but what is this?
Has legal ballot access issues.
She brought up a bunch of stuff that I've heard from the DNC chair and I've heard from other like Biden dead enders that I don't agree with. AOC Glazing 2.0, like, do her people not watch you? What the fuck? Bernie also had an interview on Colbert last night where he breaks down his logic as well. Yeah, the reason why the progressives are sticking with Biden, in my opinion, is because of what Sam Adler-Bell said yesterday as well, and I think that analysis is still correct. They were a junior partner in the coalition for Biden. They believe that Biden will be honest and actually follow through on promises that he probably gave, the assurances that they gave to the Progressive Caucus. If they stick around for Biden, they will turn around and for their defense of Biden in this moment, Biden will, if he ends up sticking it through the convention, remember that and respond in kind and return the favor and add a bunch of these like progressive policy positions into his agenda. Now, I don't believe that. I don't think that Biden will do that. I don't think that Biden will have enough momentum, even if he was to make it across the finish line at the DNC. I don't believe that Biden would win. But let's say he won. I don't believe that he would actually change his agenda. He would actually change his agenda dramatically to reflect progressive policy prescriptions. I don't think that that is going to happen either. And I think that for them, considering that this is mostly a conversation that's being had, considering that this is mostly a conversation being had by establishment Democrats, they have nothing. Progressives have nothing to lose in this circumstance. I mean, they'll lose a little bit of favor in the eyes of like the broader electorate. Progressive voters will look at them and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But ultimately, and I've said this from day one, that this is a conversation that is being had by establishment Democrats. So as long as they sidestep and as long as they don't like actively defend Biden, then they have nothing to lose. AOC has gone above and beyond in defending Biden, however, and so has Bernie Sanders and maybe even Ilhan Omar. And I think that that is a error on their part.
Yeah, definitely.
But they must genuinely believe that Biden is going to They must genuinely believe that Biden is going to change his agenda to reflect more progressive values. Having your progressive agenda tied to a loser is damaging. No, there's that aspect of it as well, but that's besides the point.
Also,
Because
he's not going to remember.
Because
as well.
do I think that Kamala Harris is not going to listen to the Progressive Caucus more than Biden? No, I think Kamala Harris would absolutely listen to the Progressive Caucus. What about her arguments around getting to the state ballots? Yeah, all that stuff is nonsense. The Republicans will launch a legal case against putting a different candidate on the ballot, but that's all bullshit. Okay, that's all bullshit. Ohio was one state in contention, and that's the reason why they were going to do an early roll call, which Ohio turned around and said, no, we'll wait until after the convention. We'll wait until like 60 to 90 days, I think, before the election, which is normal. Things happen in the election cycle, guys. Up until recently, the Democratic Party did not actually figure out who the fucking candidate was until the DNC anyway. So the idea that a American state...
My
Uber's not show anything. Oh, you're leaving?
Yep. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.
That was fun. So much happened when we're here.
I know. It was nonstop.
Bye-bye.
All right.
I'll see you at the auction. What time are you
Yeah.
coming?
I'll be there around like after 2. Are you bringing your stuff there? Are you going from there? Oh, okay. All right. You got the Steam Deck, right? All right. Perfect. You're gonna need a charger for it. You have? Okay, good. I hope that is enough to keep it charged. Yeah, I gave him my old Steam Deck. Bro, you just lost your aura. I'm leaving. You need more hot men. I know. What will I do? Don't worry. I'll find more hot men to have on. If they didn't have a major party's candidate on the ballot, you can basically call the election illegitimate. Yeah, that's not a thing that could happen. That's a ridiculous assessment. And it would not have happened for Trump either. And you have to remember, people were bringing that shit up during the Trump situation where some states were making a move to take Trump off the ballot because he's criminal or whatever. And, that was ridiculous. And I told you it was ridiculous back then. And this is also ridiculous. Anyway, so the legal considerations I find to be fraudulent as far as in terms of an argument. And I think it's just a simple defense that is borderline gaslighting. I think that beyond that, I think that the war purse that will be lost is also silly. Kamala Harris will have access to all of it. And if it's not Kamala Harris, the DNC will have access to all of it. It's crazy to assume that it's crazy to make this assertion in the United States of America that money cannot exchange hands, especially because during presidential runs, candidates can fucking die. You know what I mean? What happens in that situation, right? Think about it like that. Think about it as this isn't a direct swap out between an alive candidate and another alive candidate. And think about it as if what if a presidential candidate before convention died? Think about that. What if they died after? It's ridiculous. You really want Jamie Harrison in charge of all that money, though? Dude spend $100 million to lose to Lindsey Graham. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's the DNC's person. Yeah, I mean, it happened to Bobby Kennedy. So that's not a real, in my opinion, that's not a real consideration. The candidate gets buried in a mausoleum with all the funds and all the staffers alive. Yeah. The one thing that pissed me off by the AOC talk was her saying, you should have said this a year ago. We have. She is who was hiding the cognitive decline and not pushing that narrative, and she's digging in so late now. We can all see it as clear as day. I think AOC wasn't responding to us. I think AOC was responding to, I think AOC was talking to the establishment Democrats when she said that. If you want Sam Cedars' take.
No, I think you guys are missing the gist of what she's doing.
I got to pee while Uncle Sam speaks.
She is making an argument about against the donors, the establishment of the party, and the sort of Iglesias's and the Ezra Kleins, and all of whom have advocated open convention. And she's making an argument of, if you're going to do this, you do it with Harris. That's what's going on here in this. I mean, she's this.
So the union stuff, that wasn't about we can't change to Harris. because the unions might not endorse Harris? Because she mentioned the coconut people explicitly there.
I think she's just saying that, like, what she's doing is she's arguing that opening up this process is problematic.
We
She's
agree.
not going to turn around.
We agree on that side.
No,
but
she's not talking to us.
She emphasized the unions there. There's just the unions. Like, again, I am fine with, like, I know the people that are pulling levers here and the donors. I don't share their politics. But, like, when you say, well, we can't be all Coconut Island because the unions might not get their paperwork together.
She didn't. No, she didn't say we can't be Coconut Island.
She said, I know you coconut people.
No, she said, I don't care if you're on Coconut Island. I don't care if you
Right.
ride with Biden.
Right.
We have to work hard at this. The point is that, like, I don't know if it's because you're not seeing it in context, but she has a position. She has staked out this position. Think about it as a dam, right? Her position is a dam. Now she's letting water flow through. Everything that she is talking about, she is trying to direct where that water that is flowing through to release a little bit of that pressure to go in a certain direction. So
the reason why I didn't like this, the reason why I didn't like the IG Live specifically is because, in my opinion, by my assessment, she covered the naysayers and the people who are criticizing her, like talking about the people criticizing her from like a very very individualized framework. Like, oh, people are yelling at me, and I wanted to let everybody know, like, this is why I made this decision. And I think that ultimately, especially if you're going to break caucus at a time like this, when like there is more, the Democratic Party across the board is like seemingly united. That's why Hakeem Jeffries, the leader in the House, and Chuck Schumer, leader in the Senate, both individually went to Biden and reflected the views of the caucus. For her to break rank in this situation and put her name out there and put her influence out there, I think that it should have come with a with a narrative that was more airtight than hearing Jamie Harrison be reiterated, like the talking points that I've heard from the DNC chair, talking points that I've heard from Biden dead enders in general about potential legal troubles, and also the war purse not being switched up. The one aspect of the one thing that she did bring up that was interesting is the chaos internally, right? The chaos in the Democratic Party internally, even going so far as to say that, like, they don't even want Kamala Harris. They don't even want Kamala Harris, which is crazy. Like, that part is actually new information. And she demanded that those who are against Biden should come out and make bold declarative statements. Now, the reason why I think people who are against Biden have not made bold declarative statements, okay, is obvious. I've explained it time and time again. They don't want to show disunity. They want the Democratic Party to look united. They don't want to show chaos within the ranks, because that is one of the major major advantages that the Democratic Party has over the Republican Party. And they are trying to tell an old man as gently and as kindly as possible that he needs to step aside. Okay? The issue, however, is that Biden is refusing to hear these gentle calls, and as a matter of fact, taking advantage of the fact that they're not openly in public in broad daylight saying, like, you need to step down, you need to step down, you need to step down. And I think this will push the Democrats to make one of two decisions. If past this point of the weekend, Biden sticks it out and says, no, I'm staying in the race, seemingly he might be doing that. If he says that, then either Democrats are going to turn around and start openly stating it, making putting their names out in the same way that like Seth Moulton did, in the same way that, what was the guy from Montana? He recently came out as well last night, I think. Like, there are going to be more senators and more House of Representative members, especially in, John Tester, in contested seats that will come out and say, this is my name, this is who I am the representative from such and such, and I think Biden should step down. And that is going to create even more, is going to create more disunity. It's going to create more chaos. Some Democrats, on the other hand, who are allergic to that sort of declarative, bold proclamation, are not going to do that. And it will cause even more limbo for whether or not Biden actually comes out. But what will happen is, what will 100% happen is, will be that it will be uglier than it was before. Okay? And the ugliness could only stop if Biden listened to these calls and did the right thing, which is step aside. Okay? But he won't, seemingly. Saying they have allergies is tropes. What? I don't even know what that's a reference to. But yeah, that's my assessment. I think that Biden is selfishly taking advantage of the fact that no Democrat wants to come out and fuck up the bag. No Democrat wants to come out and say the thing that everyone is secretly, quietly saying behind closed doors and is leaking to the media, that at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And if you want to be unburdened by that reality, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Okay? Do not become burdened by what has been. Become unburdened by what will be. Become unburdened by getting gifted a sub. If you're lucky, thank you, Muffin Coats, for the 5 gifted subs. Here is the 3-minute ad break now. I love you, but you push ads more than literally any other streamer. It's no longer ironic. No, you're wrong. I literally have one of the lowest ad densities on this platform. This is, I don't know where you came up with this narrative, but you are absolutely incorrect. The only reason why it feels that way is because I mention it before I run it. Something that we democratically voted on in this community a long time ago, by the way. Booba Tuba, thank you for the 5-1 gifted subs. I don't know, it feels that way. Yeah. There are top streamers on this platform that run like 12 minutes, okay? You are insane. Like triple the ad density of mine. I have the lowest ad density on the platform. Like the lowest that you can get while having a contract. It's also significantly lower than television. Doesn't the bounty board encourage that too? I don't have a bounty board. Anyway, let's continue. AOC is correct, and everyone's underestimating the NC as though they haven't rat fucked us previously. We are getting President Mark Kelly, and if we're lucky, the Dems keep his Senate seat. Wait, what? Yeah. There was a point in time when I asked this community if you want me to announce when I'm running the big ad break or just, run it without telling you. And we gamified it. And the community said that they would rather have me announce it than just run it. Let's continue.
She knows that she does not have the ability to shift whether Biden stays or not. All she has to do as that pressure builds is to direct it in a certain way. And she can't explicitly come out and say, I'm willing to dump Biden at this point if we just have Harris, because she doesn't have that ability to set that. What she is doing is she's saying, and she made it explicit, at the beginning of this, like, this is an argument about people, all of whom share the idea that we want to get rid of Trump. And she is saying that if you're going to get behind this Harris thing, understand every time she talks about a challenge there, knowing that the water is flowing down in this different direction, all she can do is shift it slightly. And this is what this kind of politics is. She's not, she's claiming that she's being completely transparent here. And I don't think that that's the case. I think she has an agenda. And I think that agenda is not to save Biden's presidency at this point. She's not capable of doing that. But what she is capable of doing is making people a little bit more suspect about other agendas that are in play, that we have a perception of what who's on the playing field. And she's telling us there are other people on the playing field. So if you're going into this and you're on Coconut Island, be aware of this. And I think that's an important thing, because once Biden steps down, if it becomes an open convention thing, A, I think it's problematic in terms of election, but B, it's also really problematic.
AOC did not say that. No, she did. She did. That's why I'm saying, like, the most significant aspect of her The most significant aspect of her live stream was when she literally said, people that want to replace Biden do not have a legitimate plan of attack for what comes next. And that's legitimately terrifying. An open convention would be absolutely awful. Now, she might be fucking lying. She might just be straight up lying because that's how like ride or die she is for Biden. But I don't think so. I think that that actually does come across like very patently Democratic Party. I think that the Democratic Party, I could totally see, with the exception of like Nancy Pelosi and whatnot, I could totally see other dummies coming out and being like, well, maybe this is my opportunity to shine. The fuck is Coconut Island as a hog? I love when hogs refer to themselves as a hog. Coconut Island is Kamala Harris. There's a lot of people on Twitter who are like memeing about, you know, because Kamala Harris has talked about like you didn't fall out of a coconut tree. So people have started saying that they are coconut heads or they're on Coconut Island. They just like reference coconut to talk about Kamala Harris, which is kind of funny because like technically it could be seen as like a racially charged thing to say about a woman of color, but that's not the reason why people are using it like that. Normally, coconut means like you're brown on the outside, white on the inside. But the reason why people are using coconut to talk about Kamala Harris is because she said this beautiful thing.
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Now, a lot of people meme about this, but like, this is sound historical materialism, okay? I mean, that's literally what this is. This is a openly Marxist analysis of history, okay? And it's goofy, and she's goofy here, but like, she's not wrong. But yeah, people, myself included, found this to be very funny that she just like randomly dropped this. And that's the reason why it's stuck. Everyone who is like riding with Mamala says they're on Coconut Island or they're coconut heads. As far as her takes on like, you know, being unburdened by what has been or whatever, some of that is word salad, but the coconut one is actually pretty solid. It just means like you are defined by all of the events that took place before you. Yeah, the tradition of dead generations weighs like a nightmare on the brains of the living. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you. It's true. Anyway, have you seen the viral TikTok edit of Kamala saying this? The song Put My Coconuts in Your Mouth by Kim Petras. I left my fucking ass off. No, I have not. Yeah. Karl Marx Harris. Yeah. All right. It's not word salad. It means don't let your past limit your future. I know, but like it's not delivered as well as this line, in my opinion. So we shall see. We shall see what happens. But yeah, that's my analysis and my assessment on the AOC live stream after the RNC. There are things that I obviously disagree with on the stream.
Require a name to be enrolled and certified on their ballot even before the convention.
This is something I disagree with. I think this has been like, this is something that obviously has been, this is something that has been adequately rebuked. It's not a real issue. The war chest is not a real issue. AOC apparently also gave me a shout out while I had muted her. Because some dumb fucks in the chat were going into her chat and saying stupid shit.
Hasan is beefing with you on stream. He ended this election profoundly and deeply, just like all of you. And
people are so stupid, dude. It's like drama frogs. Drama frogs are actually the dumbest people on the planet. I despise them so much. Like, dude, you can't do like this. Isn't like you as a drama frog chat hopping to another person's chat and behaving like this is a he said she said situation between like me and Asmongold or whatever is ridiculous. Okay, I don't know how to stop that. Drama baiters are awful humans who have zero joy in their lives. 100%. I suspect that it's not a member of this community that did that. It was mostly just like hate watchers. But this is not a fucking streamer. This is a congressperson. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
As a person that is invested
So
in
embarrassing.
our success, I feel like I would regret not raising some of these matters that I feel are not getting appropriate consideration. And it kind of bums me out because the vast majority of people are not following this conversation as closely as the people who are following this conversation think. And if the president makes a decision unto himself, that's on him. But it bums me out when I see how many people and perspectives are not in the room and in the consideration of folks making these decisions. And like,
I'm gonna cringe.
I don't know, someone says Hasan is beefing with you on stream. Love you, Hasan. Like, I could be totally wrong. Like, I'm not here. Hasan,
Like, this is like, why? This is never something that, like, these are not words that should come out of the mouth of a congressperson. Like, I'm so upset. It's so embarrassing. Why are you guys fucking so annoying and so lame and so cringe that you went over there and like tried to start fucking drama? Like, this is not like me versus Asmongold or like XQC said this. What beef? You didn't even say anything. You just said you didn't agree. That's not beef. People are so dumb. I know. And yeah, it's annoying specifically because like I might disagree with AOC on some aspects of her commentary on this issue, but ultimately I've been, just like Sam Cedar, pretty understanding, pretty charitable of the decisions that they're making, regardless of my disagreements.
might be beefing with me. I'm not beefing with Hasan. Like, and I can tell you, like, my everyday lived reality is like, I'm not, this isn't like a knock or anything like that, but like my job every day is, I'm like being so for real right now. It's not watching TV. It's not obsessing over polls. Like, I'm telling you, I was just telling you at the beginning of this, like, I've been in Puerto Rico for several days.
Anyway, either someone was trying to make a joke or a hater trying to stir the pot. Yeah, it's just like so embarrassing. Anyway, that was definitely not my finest moment, I will say. That's rough, buddy. Yeah, I mean, if I was like a Jimmy Dore type, I would love cutting content off of this and being like, see, you know, it's real, the beef is real or whatever. But I'm not in that business, okay? I'm not. I find it very annoying that stuff like this happens. Yeah, I was muted in that moment. I muted her right as she was talking about me because I was yelling at chatters while she was saying that about like going into AOC's chat and just like saying dumb shit. That's the reason why I was muted while she was responding to some dumb fuck in her chat. All right. All right. So you literally had to cover her chat to stop cloud chasers? Exactly. I hate the even, but Central Committee acknowledged the reasoning for progressives writing so hard. People keep trying to come in and pit your takes against each other, but Mike doesn't take debate. Exactly. People do this stuff. It's understandable to do it between me and Mike, which is not going to work, but like, it's ridiculous to try and do that for fucking... It's ridiculous to try to do that between a congressperson. Like, it's insane. All right. You can have disagreements with people while still being in the same camp. That is, I think, a major difference between someone like myself and someone like a Jimmy Dore type or like the MAGA communists or whatever, who like use this as an opportunity to break away, to make a fucking name for themselves, to like brand themselves in a different way. Anyway, that's so dumb. A thing that I see a lot in this community, launched against me regularly as well, is this attitude that like people could not be straightforward and honest with their intention when they tell you something. Like when chatters were assuming that I was like secretly hiding the truth about Cody Ko, and I just like didn't want to cover it because he's my friend or some shit like that. And it's like, no, man. Sometimes it's because the fucking president almost got assassinated. You know what I mean? Former president. But he's my current president. Yeah, Chatter's being like, who the fuck is Cody Ghost? So funny. Anyway, it's okay and healthy to not agree with every single thing that every single thing that your favorite streamer says, every single thing that your congressperson says. All right, let's hear what Chuck Todd had to say about Biden's chances, and then we're going to move on to the shooter again.
At this stage, I mean, where do you think we are in this? Will he or won't he pass the torch?
Look, I think now it's impossible for Biden to stay in, even if he wants to stay
We watched this yesterday.
in, because there's too many Democrats on the record saying he needs to get out. They question whether he can serve another term. How do they suddenly put that toothpaste back in the tube? Let's say they do it, and you try to put Biden out there. How do these people answer the question in their own political debates, in their own interviews with local television and with bloggers and with podcasts and with regular voters? They're sitting here right now, basically the leaders of the Democratic Party making the case to the country, this man cannot serve another 4 years. Hard stop. By the way, we don't think he can win, but many of them are simply saying he can't serve another 4 years. How do they flip that? So at this point, essentially, he's been forced off, because I don't think we're getting to the point where I don't think he can win the nomination with his own delegates. Okay. He's losing control of that process too. So I'm not going to get into his head, but this is going to be there's only Hunter Biden and Joe Biden left to tell him it's pretty clear to me that many of the non-relatives have come to a certain conclusion. People with the last name of Biden have not.
Yeah, it's that.
And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah,
which is what you would expect in Biden.
I was going to say, ultimately, it is going to be a conversation and decision that he makes with family, right?
That's right. And he's at home. He's in Rehoboth. All the family's there. So is it this weekend? But this is unsustainable, and now his campaign is unwinnable.
Can you set?
Yeah, the emperor has no clothes. What's important here is that Todd, who definitely has established Democratic connections, has some information that there could be a delegate revolt if Biden refuses to step aside. It would be the most chaotic. Like, I think Biden's chances of winning right now, if I were to tier list, like, what happens next in terms of, like, chances of winning, I would say the absolute worst thing that can happen is, like, contested convention, delegate chaos, Biden doesn't step aside, and the DNC is just like lit on fire basically with this drama. Okay, that would be the one, like that would be a 100% lock for Donald Trump. Like, I'm not talking 99%, I'm talking 100% lock. Donald Trump wins. Donald Trump actually not only wins, but the down ballot races also turn in the favor of the Republican Party as well. He's got this fucking, he's got a red Senate, a red House. The White House is red. Everything's red. Project 2025 is looking like silliness. Okay, they move beyond that. You get the broad popular mandate. Okay, that's the absolute worst thing that can happen. The second worst thing that can fucking happen is if Biden stays in the race and loses, and a similar outcome occurs. Okay. The best possible outcome of this is a swift change in the ticket. Biden steps down honorably and says, like, it's time for a younger voice to move my legacy further. I made tremendous accomplishments in the last 4 years. I've been a legislator for 50. Okay. I've been around quite a long time, and it's time for a new generation to bring about the change that will actually help Americans. Okay. That is the best possible outcome, the best possible scenario. The Democrats immediately fucking move on with their messaging and shift their focus on Kamala winning the election. They pick a vice president that is good, balanced, reasonable, probably a white guy, a white man, cisgender, heterosexual white man, and we move on. Like an Andy Bashir type person, or maybe even Josh Shapiro, but probably not. Mark Kelly, sure. I know you're. There's a lot of Mark Kelly heads. That's another one potentially. Kamala has 0% chance. Easily the worst retail politician ever. Yeah. If Joe Biden at this stage is in a fucking 49-51 deadlock against Donald Trump, and he has no retail instincts that remain because his brain has fucking deteriorated, Kamala Harris is going to be a little bit better than Joe Biden as a retail politician. You are crazy if you think that. It's like we're talking about a race right now where it is the Democrats' race to lose, and they are losing, okay? It's the Democrats' race to lose, and they're fucking losing. So there's no downsides, only upsides, as long as this swap occurs with expediency and with the swiftness that it deserves because of, because time is running out. Trump is not a good candidate. Trump is a weak candidate. Trump is the weakest possible candidate for the Republicans. He is one that the Republicans can't actually cast aside. They tried, they failed because the base wants him, but the base is increasingly more unhinged. This is not even just a simple Trump problem. This is just a Republican Party problem in general. You can say, nah, that's copium, but obviously we have a fucking cadaver. We have a cadaver in charge right now. A cadaver that has completely capitulated to a genocidal nation that is also demonstrating his worst possible instincts in terms of his reelection chances. And even then, it's a 50-50 split, cutting in Trump's direction, of course. That implies that Donald Trump is very fucking weak. You're crazy. Come on, guys. And it's because 67% of Biden supporters don't care about Biden. They just don't want Trump to be president. This is the exact same dynamic of the 2020 election, except the difference is Joe Biden has now been president for 4 years. Okay, a lot of chaos ensued in the minds of Americans that still remember their negative real wage growth. And not only that, but also on top of that, his mental faculties have diminished even further. His mental faculties were obviously diminished in terms of, in comparison to his 2016 appearances on television, but they've gotten to a point where it's like impossible not to recognize. It's Jover. Crazy how you have to keep saying this. You've been saying this for 4 years now. I know. What? Why not just sit this one out, let the libs deal with it, not our right? You mean not our fight, which is pretty funny. I'm a political commentator. My job is to make sense of the chaos that you're experiencing and try to describe to you what the motivations are, what the ambitions are of each individual candidate, why they're moving in a direction that they're moving in. That's what I do. Okay? Are you dumb? Trump might win. Trump being a weak candidate for the Republicans does not change the dynamic that he might win. Yeah, I'm looking at the polls. Okay? Yes, Trump has a pretty decent chance of winning right now. But when you look at the races, especially in key states, okay, in swing states, and you look at must-win states, for example, where Biden is deadlocked or even losing to Donald Trump by a couple points, and you look at the down-ballot races and, like, the Democratic candidates have remained strong there, that, to me, spells one thing, and that is people are not invested in the president, but they don't mind the Democratic Party. They don't mind the Democratic Party's candidates in their down-ballot races. They just simply do not like this cadaver.
Campaign officials and his advisors have also hit going to TV shows and also really making this case that they have no plans to support a alternative nominee and that they stand firm behind Biden. And really, they had a phone call just earlier today where even they were talking to campaign officials and really trying to...
Oh, by the way, this is a pretty solid way to try to lock Biden in, for the record, and also shift the blame over to the entirety of the Democratic Party. If Joe Biden doesn't have the cognitive function to run for re-election, then he certainly doesn't have the cognitive function to remain as commander-in-chief. How can any of them pushing him to drop out of the presidential race argue in good faith that he should stay on as POTUS? That is a pretty solid way to try to lock Joe Biden in. If the vice presidential candidate is running with this narrative specifically to try to lock Joe Biden into the candidacy, perhaps that should ring some alarm bells in the minds of people. Okay? So, people need to Mark Halperin, he's got another fucking take after yesterday. He hasn't stopped. This man, holy shit. When Joe Biden will announce his retirement, the decisions Joe Biden faces now as he moves to end his presidential campaign and his career are personally and professionally painful for him. He's the reason why yesterday so many chatters were coming in here and being like, Asmongold said Biden dropped out. He's the reason why so many normies were texting me being like, wait, Joe Biden dropped out already? And now he's come out with another banger. He's a Newsmax commentator, and I don't think that his reporting was correct, especially because some of the stuff that he said yesterday was insane. Joe Biden's going to drop out before this weekend ends. Fine, that is probably true. Okay, that's what I thought as well. I would never say that is a certainty, and I would never say breaking news, Joe Biden is dropping out this weekend. There's a difference between saying that and saying, in my estimation, Joe Biden's likelihood of dropping out this weekend is pretty high. But then he followed through and said that there would be an open convention, a contested convention, and that Joe Biden would not endorse Kamala Harris, which is insane. Okay? Like that he was not going to endorse Kamala Harris. He was going to drop out and not endorse Kamala Harris. Come on. Based on my reporting and having covered and watched Joe Biden for decades, it's pretty clear what's happening. Nancy Pelosi, yeah, he used to be a Newsmax regular, or no, MSNBC regular, but he's at Newsmax now because he I think he called Obama a dick or something, and then they dropped him. He was at Huffington Post as well. Anyway, that's where you go to die when your career is done, because you've like defended your brother who is like done sexual harassment, for example. Apparently, he also had SA allegations. Is that what it is? He's a sex pest. Anyway, again, Newsmax is like the liberal version of that. That's where the libs go. Or is it News Nation? I'm fucking it up. I forget. I don't care about these outlets. Newsmax is the hog. Newsmax is Hog Central. News Nation is the place you go to. Like Chris Cuomo's at News Nation. Newsmax is hog. It's like OAN, far right, Trumper shit. He was only suspended for a month from MSNBC for saying Obama was being a bit of a dick when he was on Morning Joe. Oh, NBC and MSNBC sacked him over harassment allegations in 2017. Got it. Anyway, let's continue. I got more. Nancy Pelosi is forcing Biden's hand. This is true. She's gone out of her way so far to make this process painless for him as possible. Also true, but she knows him well enough to know that he's one of the world's worst and slowest decision makers. Someone who will delay as long as possible before picking a path among unattractive options, which means she will do whatever it takes now to get the right forcing mechanisms in place. The Rainbow Coalition of new members of Congress coming out against Biden today is another series of turtles on fence posts. The message is clear. Do what needs to be done now, Joe, or the level of pain will be ratcheted up. Okay, this analysis is correct, even though it's coming from Mark Halperin. Amongst the many paradoxes and ironies in play now are that these new applications of pain will produce more of the kind of embarrassments and humiliations that are amongst the most painful aspects of his experience for the president. And another paradox, those feelings will make Biden less likely to be willing to reach decision day because they make him angry. So Pelosi will likely have to break him fully to get him to act. A little pain won't work. Biden faces many decisions now. I mean, this is Ezra Klein said similar things yesterday, and I agree with Ezra Klein on that. Okay? Biden is a very vindictive man. Biden has not forgotten that he would have won in 2016 if it wasn't for Barack Obama telling him not to run. Okay? That is a real point of contention here for him. I can't believe that we're having this conversation that is so, like, this is a world-changing decision, and it's being talked about on the boundaries of the individual's own personal mania and their narcissistic desires and how spiteful they are. It's crazy. But that is the reality right now. Okay? The reality right now is that Biden genuinely feels like he has always been cast aside. He's been called a dumbass. He's been called a brain-dead loser since the beginning of his political career 50 fucking years ago. That part is true. They used to always make fun of him. He had to drop out of the race in disgrace because he was outed as a serial plagiarist. Okay? Back when things like that would hurt your chances of election. Obviously, we are so far past that point now, but That is the reason why he is hyper defensive and hypersensitive. When he comes out and says things like, oh, they always tell me I was going to lose and then I win. And I win and win and win over and over again. They always say I'm the underdog. Okay? I'm the underdog, Jack. Like when he says stuff like that, he means it. He is being for real. That is his genuine opinion. That's not just a narrative that he has designed because he actually thinks that's like a winning narrative. That is something that he actually believes. He genuinely thinks that they always have casted him aside, even though he's a brilliant fucking legislator, even though he wasn't, okay? And that finally, this is his time. This is his time to shine. And he believes in his own mind that for the past 4 years, he's been able to accomplish many of the agenda items that he ran on. And in terms of past performance of like Democratic leadership or Republican leadership, but specifically Democratic leadership, like what they promise and what they end up achieving, Joe Biden actually does hit decent marks. So he thinks in his mind, like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? I passed the IRA. That's a massive fucking bipartisan bill. To him, that's like a unimaginable legislative accomplishment. He thinks, oh, I passed a bipartisan gun control bill, which was marginal. It was ineffective. It doesn't matter. But in his mind, he's like, that's like a huge thing that I did. How the fuck are people still doubting me is his opinion. He's looking at the 2022 midterm election, which Republicans lost due to the Supreme Court and due to their hyper focus on like insane trans panic defenses and like crime is out of control arguments and narratives. Okay. And he's thinking like, I won that. I actually am the reason why the red wave that was supposed to happen became a red puddle, because that's a, you know, that can be seen as like approval of the current administration. Okay. And it's funny because like Republicans lost that midterm because of obviously Roe v. Wade and obviously because of Donald Trump and how hyper extremist his hand selected candidates were, like genuinely repulsive candidates. Guys, Josh Shapiro beat a dude who was like a straight up QAnon freak. Okay. The Pennsylvania gubernatorial race was between a guy who like would hold up a fucking sword and be like, I'm QAnon and this is my sword that I will wage war with, versus Josh Shapiro. Do you understand? Like, I think we kind of forgot how fucking nutty, openly nutty the Republicans were in 2022. That was the reason why the Republicans were trying to get Donald Trump out of the equation. That's why they were like, we got to get DeSantis in. We have to get DeSantis in. Donald Trump is poison for moderates. And they were right. What they were obviously wrong on, however, is that it's not just Donald Trump that's poison for moderates. It's that the attitude from the broad majority of Americans was that the Republican Party has gotten out of control. Okay? You are entirely too close to the Supreme Court decision that took away the reproductive rights of half the fucking population in this country for you to actually be able to, for you to actually retriangulate your position as like a moderate fucking party. You can't do that. Trump is a very weak candidate. However, having said that, he's also the only candidate that could like at least bring his base back into the fold. What? He said he killed your dog and you did nothing but cried about it? What are you, bro? Okay, take your medication, please. Please take your medication, chatter. Your medication order is up, okay? You have forgotten to take your medication this morning. Please take it. Take your meds, all right? You will feel better, I promise. You are currently hallucinating in this chat. Anyway, let's continue. Are you going to Connor's auction or just video calling in? No, I am going to Connor's auction. Should he endorse or not endorse Vice President Harris? The plan was for him not to endorse in order to create it. Oh, he's just like running defense for his like earlier statements, dude. In order to create the appearance of Harris earning this on her own and creating distance between her and her unpopular boss. But some Harris advocates, many women, were infuriated by my reporting on Thursday and say it'd be disrespectful of Biden not to give his the full-throated backing. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I'm reading this. Okay, I'm done. I'm done reading this thing. Okay. Maybe Harris doesn't want it. You guys are crazy. What are you talking about? Biden is going to announce at auction. I will die. If Biden announces that he's dropping out while I'm at the fucking CDOGVA auction, I will die. I will perish on the spot. You will watch me die on camera. I'm going to be honest, the biggest issue I see by Democrats is not addressing rural communities. They've abandoned them. I also never see you talking about them either. Yeah, you're wrong about that. I talk about that shit all the fucking time. I talk about the lack of access to like adequate healthcare, like no hospitals, no fucking social safety nets regularly in rural communities. Democrats are never winning rural communities though. Like that's just, that's just not happening. Anyway, Chatter saw this QRT tweet, I think. Okay, let's continue. Bro, you talk about West Virginia more than anyone else. What is this guy talking about? Yeah, I don't know. I've also spent like the last 2 days specifically talking about Appalachia because of JD Vance, of JD Vance Refrigeration. Like, that's also another like legitimate reason as to why I've been talking about it more than I normally do even. Anyway, let's continue. Let's get to the new details on the Secret Service, which was notified of the gunman before he shot at Donald Trump. And also something else that's kind of funny about the dude who shot at Donald Trump.
Of the attempted assassination of former President Trump. CBS News has confirmed that the gunman's father called police.
Please be careful teasing people about psychiatric medication. It helps a lot of us feel a sense of normalcy and is life-saving. Wait, what? I'm not even fucking teasing. I'm being very serious when I say that. It's not a joke.
Right before the shooting, he was very concerned about his sons and his son's whereabouts. Meg Oliver is tracking the critical half hour before Donald Trump was wounded.
Multiple sources tell CBS News that the Secret Service says it was notified of a suspicious person with a rangefinder 20 minutes before the shooting took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. A local tactical sniper inside a neighboring building spotted him from a second-floor window and snapped this picture. Crooks pulled out the rangefinder and the sniper alerted his team. Then the shooter climbed down an air conditioning unit to reach the roof of a building near the sniper's position. At 5:51 p.m., Pennsylvania State Police notified the Secret Service there was a suspicious person on the premises. 1 minute later, that was relayed to counter sniper teams above Trump. At 6 o'clock, Trump was allowed to go on stage and begin remarks. 10 minutes later, snipers were told police were addressing an issue, but it was too late. 1 minute after that, shots rang out. Former Secret Service agent Charles Marino says if agents knew there was a threat that far in advance, Trump should never have been allowed to address the crowd.
He should be held in a secure area until the threat is ultimately resolved, and then it's concluded that there's no additional other threats.
Sources tell CBS News Trump was permitted on stage because there was no indication the suspicious person had any weapons. South of the rally site in Freeport, Pennsylvania, hundreds of mourners are paying their respects to 50-year-old Corey Comparator, who died in the attack. Ryan Smith was his next-door neighbor growing up.
My sister texted me and told me that Corey was the one that was shot, and it killed me inside.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Meg Oliver in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time, and that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. The historic events over the weekend, and on a personal note, it's. Seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most.
We're not going to talk about Zuck yet, even though, he thinks it's badass. All the tech CEOs, all the tech bros are just like openly showing that they just, have always been fucking right-wing charlatans. They just don't even have to hide behind this like veneer of liberalism any longer. Oh my God. In some ways, I love that though, because I've known this for a while. They are literally fucking neo-feudalists. Okay. But now that Donald Trump is sweeping, like clearing the rest of these tech CEOs, these Silicon Valley charlatans, they're just open about their perspective.
Badass things I've ever seen in my life, but look, it's and I think, look, it's, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that that's why a lot of people like the guy.
Let's discuss all of that.
So, before we get to Biden's exit plans, there's more on the shooting that I want to cover, specifically this aspect from the New York Post. Trump shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks' last online search was porn. Failed Donald Trump assassin Thomas Matthew Crooks' final online search for the Pennsylvania rally shooting was last weekend was pornography, according to a report. Crooks' last search was found when the FBI gained access to 20-year-old's encrypted Samsung phone, a senior law enforcement official told the Daily Beast. Initial attempts to bust into the Android device at the Pittsburgh field office failed, and the phone had to be flown to Quantico for the agents to take a look at it, the source explained. The only other recent activity FBI found on the phone was text from Crooks' parents asking where he was. The messages started around 1 p.m. and continued through the afternoon. Crooks' parents apparently believed their son had taken one of his father's AR-15 rifles and had gone to a local shooting range. Around 6 p.m., Crooks opened fire at the Trump rally at Butler Farm Showgrounds, grazing Trump's ear and killing one rally attendee and critically wounding 2 others, and he was shot dead. By 6 p.m., he was dead, a source told the Daily Beast. Agents found 4 rifle magazines by his body, as well as a remote control that could detonate the explosives found in his car nearby. 6 days after the assassination attempt, the FBI has mostly finished looking at Crooks' phone and is now focused on his laptop and hard drives that were found in his bedroom, they added. So far, investigators have found troubling online history that included searches for Oxford High School shooter Ethan Crumbley and other mass shooters. Law enforcement sources told the Post. Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting that he looked up Ethan Crumbley, watched live stream of Trump just before trying to kill him. Maybe he just like didn't want to, he didn't want to get his parents in trouble, right? Isn't that the one? Ethan Crumbley is the kid, the mass shooter that his parents actually got in trouble over, right? The one whose parents actually went to. The gunman then scoped one of Crooks' 2 phones with a dozen contacts. On the day of the rally, Crooks' online searches included photos of the rally location and for local gun stores where he later purchased ammunition. That Saturday morning, Crooks was visited the farm grounds for over an hour. He then returned home, where investigators believed that he grabbed an AR-15 rifle owned by his father. His dad, Matthew Crooks, told authorities that he saw his son leave with the rifle and assumed he was going to the shooting range. They frequently visited together. So far, they've refrained from offering a specific motive for the shooting, which only hit Trump's ear. Family and people who work with Crooks described him as quiet, without any overt political affiliations. That's a lie, by the way. Thank you, New York Post, for lying. Many people who knew him said he was a conservative. A pair of former high school classmates remember him being cut from the school rifle team for being a bad shot. He searched major depressive disorder, depressive crisis treatment. They found explosives. And in the home, they found 14 firearms and more explosives, as well as a second cell phone, a laptop, and a hard drive. All right, hold on. Inside Turkey's top yachting destination? What the fuck?
Economy going.
Hold on, watch this for a second. I got to do something. God damn it. They don't want you to know the truth about the top yachting destination. All right, let's get to the Biden family begins discussing potential exit
now
plan.
with Pete Seed, a former White House spokesman for the Bush administration. Also with us, Alencia Johnson, former senior advisor to President Biden's 2020 campaign. Alencia, you worked on the Biden 2020 campaign. What does it say to you that these are the people, his family, Jill Biden, Hunter Biden, Valerie Owens, his sister, who are having these discussions about a potential exit plan?
Well, listen, this means that it's a very serious conversation, right? These are the people that he really listens to. But I want to be very clear here. You know, the reason that we're having a lot of this discussion is because there are party elites who continue to drive this conversation that he cannot beat Donald Trump. And yet, just before this program, you saw Senator Bernie Sanders on MSNBC staunchly supporting President Joe Biden. That shows you progressive leadership. You also have Congressional Hispanic Caucus leadership, the Congressional Black Caucus leadership. You have voters on the ground, Black and Latino voters, who are saying, hey, we want to move forward because we have a plan. We have issues that actually can beat the other side. And so I think this conversation is a matter of how do we get back focused on the campaign to win in November, and President Biden has to make that decision firmly footed. And I think that's a conversation he's probably having with his family. But the reality is there are a lot of people in our coalition that still want to support President Biden.
So there is that internal conflict, obviously. Pete, what's your reaction to where we are right now?
Well, all this sounds awfully Trumpian to me, right? You listen to the Biden campaign, to Jen O'Malley Dillon on Morning Joe, and they're dismissive of polls that they don't like. They lean on this idea of a silent majority. She effectively said, for every one senator who comes out and says withdraw from the race, there are 30 who are privately calling us and telling us to stick it out. Well, where are those people publicly? Why aren't they saying those things publicly? It's so unbelievably, if you took some of these quotes and put them on a screen without attribution and asked the American people who said this, they would probably think it was Donald Trump. And it turns out it's Joe Biden and his team not seeing the reality. They have this belief that loyalty is marching to defeat when loyalty is telling Joe Biden what he doesn't want to hear.
Alencia, you talk about it being the party elites, and some may describe them this way, but they're also people who I think deeply care about President Biden, people like his former president that he served alongside, President Obama, who is expressing concerns about the path forward for Joe Biden if he stays on the ticket. We also have reporting that Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries have all had conversations with Biden about the realistic chances of winning re-election, the impacts on the down ballot races, House, the Senate, all involved here. And yes, we know it. He is somebody who is not wired to quit. This is what we were told specifically, especially in the face of big adversity.
That's right.
But how much could that political pressure impact his decision?
Look, it's mounting political pressure, and I actually have to disagree with what was just said by the other guests. There are a lot of party leadership out here still supporting President Biden. Again, Senator Bernie Sanders, I don't know what bigger beyond Chuck Schumer that is to have that support. But I think this conversation that's happening, it's two conversations happening. This one that's a browbeating, he absolutely has to get out of the race, or voters, you absolutely have to get in line with President Biden, versus the conversation that brings all of the voters involved, which is there can be concerns. How do we move forward whether or not he stays in the race, and what are the issues that will have voters showing up in November? You had a letter that came out yesterday with 1,400 black women in these states that we need to win, saying that they support President Biden. And so the Biden campaign has to weigh what they're hearing on the ground with, yes, the people that care about him, the Nancy Pelosi's, the President Obama's. How do you reconcile that when you're hearing two different conversations? And I do think it's imperative that they're doing that. I just want to make sure that the tone coming from both sides of this faction actually thinks about the existential crisis that we have on the other side.
Well, Democrats are all on the same team, I guess is what I'm hearing you say. Yes. Pete, if Biden did step aside, and to be clear, that has not happened yet. His campaign has repeatedly said they intend to be on the ballot in November. But if it does happen, then what? There's obviously not a lot of time to figure this out.
Yeah, well, it seems more than likely, if it does happen, that Vice President Kamala Harris would.
Sorry, I had to. Chair gives the best reacts. Rewind that. Shut the fuck up, bitch. Obviously, I had something that I needed to take care of off camera for like a brief moment. Anyway, and now I'm back. No, it's not pooping. Don't worry. This is what AOC was afraid of and said will likely happen. Well, what's likely to happen right now is you seeing a 3-minute ad break. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. Biden camp touts support for Bernie as a counter. If I'm not on camera, there's like a pretty good reason for it usually, and it's not pooping. Yeah, I saw the shooter watch porn, and I was like, that reminds me. I got to go crack one out. Oh. Anyway, at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. I came back just in time so I could serve you a 3-minute ad break, baby. You already know. Here it is. Establishment Dems are scapegoating progressives and will blame them later when Trump wins. I hope not. So why can't they keep Harris as VP but get a new front runner if the issue is campaign funding? I think it looks weak. While I think that there are far better candidates than Kamala Harris as people that would run the ticket, I still think that it would make the administration look weak. It would make the administration look incompetent. It would make Kamala Harris look super weak in general. Like, why the fuck is she on the ticket then? It should be someone else then entirely. You can't always a bridesmaid, never a bride your way into the presidency. Like, Biden thought she was capable of being VP, which means she's capable of being P, but now not so much. There's not really much you can do. We're locked down in that situation. Anyway, not a single Democrat I've spoken to who doubts that if Biden endorses Harris, the party will unite behind her. At this point, given how little time is left before the convention and how strong she's been since the debate, that probably happens even if he doesn't endorse her. I've been arguing for an open convention since February. What Democrats deprived themselves of Biden was information. A mini primary process would give them more information, but they've not planned for it, built consensus for it, and in my reporting, they don't have the stomach for it. But I don't think that by the way, this is where I do disagree with Ezra Klein on, even though he's coming to my position now on this issue as well, that he doesn't think an open contested primary would be good. I don't think that if Biden steps aside, the party falls into chaos. This is what's happening right now, is a party in chaos. It has lost confidence in the presumptive nominee, and it has recognized that most voters have lost confidence in him long ago. Party actors like AOC could easily rally the party around Harris. Biden could easily rally the party around Harris. That's where it already mostly wants to go. Instead, his staff has often been quietly talking her down to fortify his position. The other thing worth saying on Harris is she has in a very tricky situation been showing how she'd run every day since the debate. Democrats who've been watching her have been impressed. She changed minds. She hasn't misplaced a foot, not once, in a very high stakes period. She was underrated before. Some of that was on her, but a lot of it wasn't.
Become the nominee for the Democratic Party. And I know coming out of the Republican National Convention, a lot of Republicans, the delegates, are on an emotional and spiritual high. They think that Donald Trump could beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl right now. But I would just caution everyone to say Kamala Harris is formidable insofar as that she is not Joe Biden. At this point, I think my mini golden doodle, Paxson, could probably fare better against Donald Trump than Joe Biden in November. Democrats need to get realistic about this and what is happening. And I don't necessarily want Democrats to win, but it also concerns me just as an American watching the sitting president of the United States have these challenges everywhere he goes, not just one night at a debate, but interviews and on the world stage. It's constantly happening. And the American people have caught on. You see the polling. They think he's too old to continue, and they're not interested in him being their nominee.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many...
Damn, star-studded cast. Star-studded. Yeah, we'll talk about Bernie's takes here, okay? Nobody in America should be voting for Trump, says Bernie. God, I love him so much. And then, obviously, big change of pace from Bernard Sanders, talking about making the case for why he's riding with Biden, which is identical to what like AOC was trying to do last night. It's basically, I think, like I said, a promise made to the progressives that will stick by Biden's side. It's a bet. It's a gamble. I don't think Biden survives this, but if he did, I still don't think Biden wins. But if he did, I still don't think Biden applies these progressive policy measures in his first 100 days in office. But if he did, it would be it would be an unimaginable bet. Okay. Do you understand why I am at odds with the progressives on this issue? I gave you 3 different unlikely things that need to happen for this bet to pay off. The payoff would be massive. It would be unimaginable. People would write fucking movies about it. They'd be like, this is how the progressives came in and saved Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden saved America. You know what I mean? I don't think it's likely to happen, but, you know, that's what it is.
President Barack Obama reportedly has concerns about President Biden's ability to stay at the top of the ticket. That is what 2 sources told NBC News. The former president sees Biden's victory as, quote, getting harder, one of the sources said. The Washington Post reports former President Obama has said President Biden needs to seriously consider the viability of his candidacy. And with those comments, he really finds himself in a situation that is getting more grave.
Yeah, and the Biden camp, though, pushed back.
They did. The Biden camp offered some of the most aggressive pushback, with one source telling NBC News, quote, can we all just remember for a minute that these are the same people who are trying to push Joe Biden out, are the same people who literally gave us all Donald Trump. In 2015, Obama, Pelosi, Schumer pushed Biden aside in favor of Hillary. They were wrong then, and they are wrong now. The source also pouring water on concerns over Biden's poll numbers, pointing to polling back in 2016, the election that showed Hillary Clinton leading Trump by as much as 9 points. That source adding, quote, how did this all work out for everyone back in 2016? Perhaps we should learn a few lessons from 2016. One of them is polls are BS. Just ask Secretary Clinton. And two, maybe, just maybe, Joe Biden is more in touch with actual Americans than Obama, Pelosi, Schumer.
So, John Heilman, this is...
No. Do I remember correctly? Biden refused to run? You do remember the media narrative correctly, but if you were in here, I've talked about this quite a bit. I talked about this in 2020, as a matter of fact. Obama told Joe Biden not to run in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. That's literally what he did. Obama then, I think, for two different reasons. One, because he was terrified of Bernie Sanders, and two, because he felt bad, I guess, about doing that, launched an advocacy campaign for Joe Biden when it was far too late in 2020.
This is fascinating because there was sort of a tale of two Biden campaigns yesterday, and a tale of two Democratic parties. You would listen to most of the people that were talking yesterday were suggesting that the president is moving in the direction of getting out of the race, and there's very specific discussions taking place. But you also had campaign officials who aggressively pushed back on the fact. But again, let's be clear here that you have had Schumer, Pelosi, Jeffries, Barack Obama, just about every major Democrat expressing their concern directly to President Biden. Reverend Sharpton, I saw in the New York Times in an article, expressing their concerns that he could lose and he could damage his legacy. And a spate of polls, now even public polls, CBS has him down 5 points. Swing state polls seem to keep going. And
what happened, bro? What happened, Joe? Joe, what's going on? Joe, I am only a Joe Scarborough watcher and nothing else. And let me tell you, I am shocked, I tell you, of the severe narrative change over the course of the past 48 hours. Joe, why are you saying things that are the exact opposite of what you were saying up until 48 hours ago, Joe? Now the polls are relevant? What the hell's going on, Joe? I thought you told me to not look at the polls. I thought you told me it was actually silly that the Democratic Party insiders were operating at the behest of elitists against the populist, socialist, revolutionary Joe Biden, the proletarian hero Joe Biden. They hated him because of what he presented. They hated him for what he represented. You know, a working class movement. I thought that it was racist to say Joe Biden should step aside for a black woman, but still, it's racist for Joe Biden to step aside. What the hell's going on?
bad direction. New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire, a lot of states that were not in play leading up to the debate, suddenly more than in play for Donald Trump. So what happens?
Yeah, Joe, and I think one thing that happened yesterday was we were on this yesterday morning talking about the kind of extraordinary, kind of orchestrated a series of things that happened the day before. Yesterday, the kind of there was a little of a feeding frenzy around this, and I think that especially with President Biden having COVID and being in Rehoboth. The din, the kind of the clamor on cable news, I think for some people around President Biden started to feel kind of disrespectful, and that there was not a world where he, in an isolated state, where he was sick, I'm not trying to overblow it, but I think there was a little bit of an effort on the part of some people around around the Biden campaign to kind of put the brakes, especially when some very specific reporting, people started making very specific claims about timetables and that the decision had been made and there was a timetable and here was what he was going to do. And I don't know about the quality of some of that reporting, but I'll say that they pushed back hard on some of that. And I think it kind of got overboard with them in that regard. And they wanted to throw a brushback pitch and sort of say, President Biden needs time, still needs some time, especially given the fact that he's ill. It is the case that the factors that you, Mika and I and everybody else in the show talked about yesterday did not get better yesterday. And by that, I mean, some very basic things. How do you run a presidential campaign without any money? That problem got worse yesterday because donors, and again, say what you want to say about them, have now gone to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee and basically said, we're not just shutting off Joe Biden right now. We're going to shut off the congressional campaigns because your guys' job is, from our point of view, is to talk sense to Joe Biden. And if you can't talk sense to Joe Biden, why are we if we're not going to give him money because we think he has no path and he's going to drag, we believe, on the basis of what the metrics that we're looking at, I'm speaking as a fake donor here, he's going to drag you down. Why should we throw good money after bad into a lost cause in the House and Senate? So we're not talking about donors flexing their muscles in a way that threatens not just the reelection campaign of the president, but also all of those people who are running for reelection or seeking election in the Democratic caucus in the House and Senate. And so that has exacerbated the problem.
I literally never thought in my entire life that I would be in a position where I'm in agreement with like elite Democratic Party donors, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, the damn near entirety of the mainstream media apparatus, David Axelrod, Barack Obama, standing against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, and Ilhan Omar. Like, what the fuck is happening? Broken clock is right twice a day. The libification, yeah, the why I left the left moment, I know. It's actually the supremely leftist thing to do. The supremely leftist thing to do is ensure that a genocidaire who's 850,000 years old, for simply malicious and spiteful and selfish reasons, stays in the race because it's his time, and then he fucking loses to a out and about fascist. What's really annoying to me about all of this is that, like, God, the donors have so much fucking power. I feel like the more they talk about the donors, the more people are gonna fucking polarize against pushing Biden out, because they're like, well, if the donors want them, then fuck you and fuck the donors. Now I'm riding with Biden. You know what I mean?
And some of the things that how.
No, they're mad at Biden because they can't control him. He's an independent force in the DNC, and with him gone, the Pelosi-Schumer dominance has no opposition. The Schumer dominance. I hope you're trying to make a joke and you're not being serious, right? Kamala won't be as progressive as Biden, though. All of this is making me support Biden instead. They'll replace Biden in someone they can't control. Can't you see that? Why are you making like QAnon conspiracies for Biden? And in your QAnon conspiracy for like Biden being this, like, this is blue MAGA. You know that, right? Like the idea that like Trump actually is not a representation of like exactly what the deep state is supposed to do, and instead like a brave, bold fighter against the deep state. Like, you're doing that for Biden right now because I trust AOC and Bernie. So if Biden drops out and AOC and Bernie say, okay, well, GG's, we tried. Kamala Harris is great. Will you forget how you feel about Kamala Harris? Don't put any fucking blind confidence in a singular person, let alone a politician. That's insane. You can also, like I said, even go so far as saying you love certain politicians, you love their legacy, and still vehemently disagree with them. I've done that with Bernie Sanders quite a bit. Okay? Are you not going to auction because it started 40 minutes ago? I am going to the auction. I'm finishing this food and then I'm going to the auction. I told Connor I'd be a little late.
How grave that problem is rapidly becoming very clear. So that pressure is still very much on. And I think that, and as you said, some of the polling numbers, as they become increasingly public, and I would just focus on one thing in particular, where some of these numbers, forget about what you think about battleground state horse race numbers. The attribute numbers, the number now that about whether President Biden is mentally fit for office, is those numbers are getting to the point where they're quite scary, and you can't. It's very difficult to be reelected president if upwards of 80% of voters in the country don't think you're equipped for office, and so there's polling around that I know the Biden team, Schumer, Pelosi, Obama, all those people have seen just in the past few days that say that, and those numbers are not only are they bad, but they're very hard to turn around. It's hard to imagine how you're going to turn that around going forward.
Right. So, Mika, just to underline a couple of things that John said, that's nailed it. The biggest issue, immediate issue, is money. The donors have stopped giving money,
I'm just confused because Biden said he'll do it without them. That was really funny when he was like, yeah, I'll do it without the donors then. And then immediately 50% of the donations dried up because obviously even more than 50% of donations of the campaign is coming from the omega wealthy. Like, what are we talking about, dude? There is no grassroots mobilization in this fucking country, let alone for someone like Joe Biden. As far as Kamala Harris versus Joe Biden goes on progressive legislation, like, I don't put a lot of emphasis on what a California senator did in their tenure, okay? But Kamala Harris has a relatively progressive track record, especially because she was a senator when Trump was president. And when Trump was president, she could make bold declarative statements about how much of a fucking Marxist proletarian revolutionary she is because they knew they had no power. In that process, she actually voted for a shit ton of progressive legislation. So if the metrics of your measurement for the boundaries of like whether you think a politician is good or not is their track record, then Kamala Harris is literally fucking more progressive than Joe Biden. It's not even a question. I don't trust that regardless, though. One thing that I can point to, however, is that Kamala Harris has better instincts than Joe Biden in this process because post-October 7, especially a couple months in, she openly and also through quote-unquote leaks was fielding the media on her position on a ceasefire in Gaza. She literally was outflanking Joe Biden. That is actually unique. You don't really hear that. You don't really see that normally. Okay? So that is like one of the only instances. That is one of the only instances where I've looked at something and went, I think Kamala Harris might be trying to separate herself from the top of the ticket a little bit, at least on this issue. And that to me shows good political instinct. Terrible instincts? You think that's bad? Are you kidding me? Talking about fucking ceasefire in Gaza like 3 months before Joe Biden ever even brought forward a 3-phase negotiation process, which he's never like followed through on, by the way, is literally is actually very good. At worst, it shows that Kamala Harris recognizes that there's a youth vote contingency out there and a, Dearborn voter contingency out there that desperately needs to hear something that is, something that speaks to the humanity of those who are being lost to this genocide. Kind of see the point of progressives now. As you said, they're betting on a dead horse with a low chance of winning and actually doing what he said. But what are the odds of a president even mentioning progressive policies? Probably even lower. No, I don't think it's that low. I think that all of the other possible members are going to, because of Joe Biden's track record, whoever comes after Joe Biden is going to either A, be just as progressive as Joe Biden, which is not a lot, or B, be more progressive than Joe Biden, because Joe Biden wasn't all that progressive to begin with. So your guys are wrong on that front. Like, Joe Biden's legislative agenda has been more progressive than Democratic presidents of past, but that is actually not a consequence of Joe Biden's own personal conviction. That is a consequence of what the material conditions look like and what the demands are. It's kind of like this. Republicans used to lie about climate change. They still lie, but they used to lie back then as well. But now Republicans at least have to vote for hardening our infrastructure against some of the most damaging aspects of climate change, because that part is unavoidable. That's something that people in Texas are experiencing right now. You know what I mean? Legislators might say, it's the Chinese conspiracy, but it still doesn't change the reality that you need to put funds in at least some kind of climate change combating infrastructure hardening initiative. Okay, that's why Republicans have moved beyond like, oh, we're spending too much money on this shit. It's made up. It's gay. It's fake. Chinese people made it up. To, yeah, Chinese people made it up, but we will vote for this fucking infrastructure hardening. We will actually demand money to you know, protect our voters and the people that live in this region. So it became unavoidable in many respects for any administration that would come into power to not do any kind of like IRA style bill. That's the reason why Joe Biden was more progressive than previous presidents. And he went above that too in some respects, for sure. But having said all of this, the likelihood that whoever comes after Joe Biden will be more progressive than he is, I mean, it's pretty high. He's an 800-year-old center-right Democratic Party creature.
It's almost completely ground down to a halt. The story of Jeffrey Katzenberg telling President Biden this got eclipsed from the COVID diagnosis. So that is a problem. I will say also, you got a lot of information yesterday. There was a lot of information, a lot of off-the-record conversations, a lot of plans being made about President Biden moving toward getting out of the race this weekend. That stopped when there was some very specific reporting later in the afternoon. Mark Halperin being very specific on some reporting that other reporters, newspapers and networks had parts of that reporting, but not all of it together. I think at that point is when we started to see the campaign pushing back, because what people close to Joe Biden have said all along is he's a man of great pride. He can be stubborn and tough. Don't back him into the corner. If he's going to do this, let him do it his way on his time frame. And when all of these reports started coming out, that's when the campaign started pushing back. And I think part of that is giving him the space to make this decision, to finish making this decision with his family this weekend.
He's also a man of faith and a man of tremendous historic accomplishment. And look, it's impossible to ignore where this is going and exactly what started it. I'm not unaware of that. At the same time, I still believe that you don't know what you have until it's gone, and that there will be that feeling at some point.
You think there'll be if he leaves the race, you think Democrats will regret it?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
He said when he, and had to correct himself. Oop.
People in Gaza.
Yeah, Kamala Harris gave the speech back in March, recognized the situation in Gaza, and this community gave her some credit at the time. I was here. Yep. Who the fuck is gonna be like, oh man, you know, you don't know what you got till it's gone. You paved paradise and put up a parking lot. You swapped out a fucking 800-year-old guy for someone who is at least a little bit more dynamic and younger and more coherent. Who would be a good VP pick if they went with her? A white man. A white man from a white man from a state that is like either like a red state, or a white man from a state that is a swing state. Not a woman. People saying AOC. Hopefully not Pete Buttigieg either. Mark Kelly, Andy Bashar. I know that what I'm saying also implies John Fetterman. I would die if that happened.
I'm against charter schools. They are wrong for our Commonwealth. They take taxpayer dollars away from the already underfunded public schools.
My dick has never been harder than hearing a Kentucky accent say the words, I'm against charter schools. They take away dollars from public schools. This is pornography for me. This is pornographic material. I have never nutted so hard in my life.
In the Commonwealth. And our taxpayer dollars should not be redirected to for-profit entities that run charter schools. As Attorney General, I can tell you the number of prosecutions we had against for-profit colleges, how so many of them took advantage of so many people, and the idea that we would open up that same ability.
Someone said this is like the socialists of the 30s. Yeah, he needs to just say the N-word to finalize the equation. Okay? If he was like, and black people should go to separate schools, then it's like that he's the perfect Southern Democrat.
For people to prey on our even younger students is simply not the direction Kentucky should go.
There's so much talent in the Democratic Party, man. Kamala and Andy could be running an insanely high energy campaign with 3 states in a day each. FYI, completely cool with Shapiro or Cooper or any other person she picks. I don't think it'll be Andy Bashar. Kentucky's not a state he can carry. I mean, he is pretty popular. If Biden ends his re-election campaign, Democrats get a new presidential nominee. Arizona U.S. Senator Mark Kelly is among the names circulating as a possible running mate for Kamala Harris. Yeah, it has to be a white man. 100%. It is literally the fucking Barack Obama equation, but this time even worse because one, Kamala is nowhere near as charismatic as Barack Obama, and also she's a woman. These are definitely things that voters will look at. I don't know if it's Mark Kelly, but it will be a white man. Why not Newsom? Kamala is already from California. Gavin Newsom is not as popular as a standalone figure as people think he is. Why not Big Gretch? Because she's a woman. Dude, what are we talking about? So what if she's a woman is ridiculous, dude. Two woman ticket? Like, I mean, I'd love it. I like Gretchen Whitmer. But 2-woman ticket is like... Let's not forget that 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump. That's number one. Number two, the difference between the percentage of white women voting for Biden over Trump is far smaller than the difference between the percentage of men voting for Trump over Biden. Because women also are incredibly fucking misogynistic. Women have a shit ton of internalized misogyny. We're talking about Republican women specifically. They will absolutely go, a woman, 2 women as president? Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, he also took pictures with attendees at a rally. One such group he posed with was the so-called Derby City Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, a group of drag queens who describe themselves as the Order of Sacred Clown Nuns whose goal is to bring education and awareness about the LGBTQ community. This was a harmless picture with a harmless group providing, if nice, a symbolic show of solidarity between the new governor and his constituents. And it drove Republicans insane. At a political event held a week after the Fairness Campaign's rally, Philip Wheeler, a Republican state senator from Eastern Kentucky, had a temper tantrum about the photo. Walking from person to person, he showed his constituents the picture of his phone and ranted about how Bashir was trying to corrupt children and defiled the state capitol. He and other Republicans in a trap. He and other Republicans may have thought that they caught Bashir in a trap, one that could evaporate his support among the many socially conservative white working class voters who brought him into office the year prior. The governor certainly didn't think so. When asked about Wheeler's comments, Bashir reiterated his pride in being the first Kentucky governor to go to a gay rights rally. This could have been a way for him to sidestep around Wheeler's comments, but he avoided doing so. Bashir went on to declare that he would absolutely take that picture again because those were Kentuckians who were here at their capital. That brings a fucking tear to my eye thinking about. He brought up that Wheeler had made racist comments in the past and accused him of now making significant homophobic comments. Then he demanded that Wheeler give an apology to every single person in that picture and that he do it personally. His allies then called on Wheeler to immediately resign. That right there is a Democrat who fucking fights. That's Kentucky's Democratic governor, chat. That is Kentucky's Democratic and, dare I say, very popular governor. Now, it's not unique to have a blue governor in a red state or a red governor in a blue state. That happens all the time. The governorship, the gubernatorial race is one that is often like deeply personal. It's the one issue where it's the one race where most voters vote for the person and not the party affiliation. Okay? Historically, that has always been the case. But the fact that he's in Kentucky, he's popular, and also a Democrat, and does shit like this is pretty significant. Anyway, is there any real reason why Kamala wouldn't be a great pick for the Dems? She's an outwardly well-spoken, unifying candidate. What do you mean, unifying candidate? She's just ultimately, for the past 4 years, she has deliberately been presented as a non-entity. It's at best a little bit of an advantage now because the Republicans haven't really shifted their focus on her at all throughout that entire process. But obviously, that is also part of the reason why she doesn't have a shit ton of name recognition. And the people that do know her as the person who was an absolute abysmal failure during the primary where she lost her own state and is a massive charisma suck. All of the Mamala jokes aside, yeah, the only reason why she is presented as a solid pick right now is because of what the alternative is. The alternative is a carcass. So yes, in comparison to the carcass, she can speak. And that's it. And considering that plenty of people are willing to vote for a fucking carcass, they're obviously going to vote for someone who can speak better than the carcass. Anyway, I have to go. I'm going to run the last 3-minute ad break right now. And I am going to go to the auction, the charity auction. Okay. I'm going to raid the charity auction as well. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be playing basketball with FaZe, Jason the Wee Wee, and FaZe Blackboy Max. I don't know if Ludwig will be able to attend that. It was supposed to be a 2v2. If it's not, I'll be able to either find someone else or we'll figure out what happens. But that's later in the day. Before then, I will be talking about the ICJ decision. I will obviously be talking about a lot of the stuff that I didn't get to today. He is 1000% dropping out while you're not covering politics. Please don't say that. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to think about that. I am legitimately worried that anytime I'm not actually fucking live is a moment where Biden could potentially drop out, especially during the workday. Okay? There's too much happening for you to be having fun. JK. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, where can we watch the auction? Don't worry. Fear not. I'm going to raid the auction right now. Wait, what the fuck? I'm raiding the auction currently. Tonight is also the Creator League draft at 8 p.m. EST. Yeah, they will obviously be bringing my ass up because I'm on the Creator League. I'm going to be playing at DreamCon. Anyway, I'll see you all on the other side, okay?